Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome back everyone that was here, and welcome all the new people. We're starting our third reading of the final budget hearing this evening.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bozick.
Here.
Councilmember Rivas.
Here.
Councilmember Conover. Present. Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Councilmember Justin.
Yes.
Councilmember Larson.
Here.
And Councilmember Whitten.
I'm here.
7 present.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, guys, what are your thoughts? Where do you guys want to start at?
Well, I think we have a couple of housekeeping things that we want to try to take care of before we get into the actual third reading, a couple of clarifications and a couple of things that we wanted to clean up. So I've had some opportunity to speak with a number of you and speak with Harold and speak with, that's pretty much it. And we wanted, first of all, I think we should clean up what we're going to do with the 4D lease. And so my thoughts were, in talking with our counsel and reading the legal opinion and reading through the case law, and then discussing that with Attorney Harper, that we want to not, or I would suggest that we not appropriate the lease payment for 4D on for next year. However, in speaking with the auditor and speaking with a couple of you, it seemed that we do want to preserve the money somewhere because 4D is going somewhere. So, and that somewhere is undoubtedly going to require some renovations, and it's going to require some cost and moving costs, and then they're going to be moved again. So we know from the legal opinion that was shared to us eventually that the lease from the independent attorney's report is void. Furthermore, there was some language in there about the extension and what we might do to void it. And I think that it would be an ill-fated journey for us to, A, appropriate funds now on a void lease, and furthermore, to appropriate funds on the extension, which starts next year, which we found out this year. So my suggestion would be this. We move that money out of that budget, move it into another line item in another general fund budget, because I don't think we want to reduce our general fund by that much and then have to deal with that money later. That's a mistake. So one easy and pretty clear place might be in our county council contractual line item. Would that work?
Sounds good.
Vicki?
Yes.
So we can move that money over there, so at least we've preserved the funds to deal with the 4D office in the location that the commissioners determine doable. Any thoughts or questions about that?
No, I would agree with that. It makes sense to me. We preserve the money just in case we need it. But the commissioners are going to have to make a move or figure something out pretty quick.
So furthermore, we don't want to be in a situation where it gives the appearance that we're not funding the 4D office, because what is glaringly obvious, whatever degrees of missteps led this colossal mess to our door, the fact of the matter is we just can't fail to provide for the 4D office and the services it provides. One other thought and one other suggestion that I had with our attorney was, I think we need some sort of, and I think, Harold, you can speak to this, I don't want to take your thunder, but I think that we need to have a resolution that clearly indicates that we are not, in fact, appropriating for the lease. And so subsequent to my conversations with some of you and with Harold was kind enough to craft a resolution for us to entertain for this evening, and I think, Harold, you tried to keep it brief and short and sweet and right to the point. So, Harold, why don't you speak to that?
The statute provides that if the council chooses not to appropriate monies for a contract for whatever reason, if the council makes a written determination of that, then the contract is considered canceled. And that written determination is also by statute considered final and conclusive. So, if the council is to go to make that decision, I think it's a good idea from the perspective, or given the issues that are there with the contract, I think the council, if the council chooses to go and not appropriate, I think it's best in terms of the legal interest of the county to have that written determination. And, separate and apart from whatever the council might determine, I think if the council does make that decision to not appropriate on that particular lease, it can be made separate and apart from preserving those monies in a different account. I think the council should make that determination.
Okay. So I assume you've all had the opportunity to at least see the resolution? And did anybody have questions for Harold on that? No. So I suppose this might be an appropriate time to act on that? Harold?
Well, in light of this new situation, I guess I wanted to say in my 18 years on this council, and having assessed all the needs of department budgets for 18 years, I've never experienced any discussions as heated and as controversial as this year's discussion for the 2019-40 lease. In 1999, 20 years ago, the commissioners leased the commercial space from the private sector for this necessary department. And now we've been aware of this attorney's opinion, and it infers the original lease and its renewals from a private vendor has been considered void because of a little-known or unknown Court of Appeals ruling in 1993, 6 years before the inception of the lease, that the rules have changed. And these rule changes have affected all units of government in Indiana. It's also my understanding that Porter County, and more than likely all taxing entities in Indiana, may be unaware of these 1999 rule changes concerning leases. So we find ourselves today having a long-term, supposedly invalid void lease with a private vendor who spent a considerable amount of money for a specific 4D department improvement. The vendor thought they had a valid long-term lease and a guaranteed income, but now we have a newly acquired county building to house the various government functions, including 4D, that won't be ready for a year or so. What we do as a council do right now. Do we ignore the vendor's good faith lease and cut the commissioners off at the knees by stripping the appropriation? Do we want unnecessary spent tax dollars twice for a temporary 4D build-out, and then again the permanent 4D build-out? Is it this council's objective to spend taxpayer money twice? The director of 4D, Laura Stafford, sent us all a letter today outlining the special requirements we need to house this office. If you don't have a copy, they are available, and this is much more complex than moving 15 desks and file cabinets into a temporary space. I think we need to give the commissioners the option of one more tool in the toolbox to reach a viable solution. I don't know the current landlord for 4D, but I do know the previous landlord. And it is my understanding the landlord and his representative would be willing to have dialogue with the commissioners if we can just give them the financial latitude.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Karen.
So it's not really that easy, frankly. I mean, and I appreciate your comments, Karen, I really do, but that's not really the whole story, frankly. Let's be clear about this. Yes, there is a legal opinion that says the lease at its inception was void, but there's also some language in there about the extension. Now, let's talk about that extension for a second. We keep talking about all these wonderful, good faith things that were done, which is fine, but I want to be clear about this. In 2012, when I found out who owned the building and when I found out about the increase that was built into the lease, it raised some questions in my mind. I was told at that time that we were stuck with the lease till the end of 2018. That was in 2012. A little over a year later, about a year and a half later, in 2014, unbeknownst to this body and this board, and 4 years before the lease was supposed to be, was expiring, it was extended to 2024. Now, let's flash forward. Nobody told us that, and we're operating on the assumption that we're stuck in this lease till 2018. Now, let me be clear about this. Let me be very clear about this. In 2012, I said in that meeting, if I'm still here at the end of 2018, I don't want to hear that we haven't tried to find other places, that we haven't put out bids, that we haven't done the market analysis. I said that in 12. In 2014, the commissioners extended that lease without telling us. And it turns out that lease was signed months by the commissioners after that approval, but before that meeting by our prosecutor. Now, that doesn't seem odd, but okay. Now, that was 14. Now, let's flash forward to this year. When we asked as a body, when is that lease up? It's 2018, correct? And again, we were told, yes, at the end of 2018, that lease is up. And we made a decision to purchase that building, and I don't know what everybody else's decision was based on. I can't speak to others, but I can speak to myself. And I specifically said, when will the savings start? And I was specifically told, beginning of 2019. And only later on were we told, oh, gosh, you'll just never guess what happened. It's not 2019. We're 6 years wrong. It's 2024. So to say that this whole mess is some sort of an archaic law or case law that the Chu versus Lake County from 1993, and gosh, no one knew what was going on, that just isn't really what made this thing controversial. It isn't. The way this was done was just wrong. It's not the way government's supposed to work. It's not the way we expect ourselves to work, and it's clearly not the way we expect other bodies in this county to work. So yeah, it was very odd, and I felt misled, frankly, to my vote to buy the building. Now, there's other reasons to buy that building, but I got to tell you, my vote tipped on that. We were told specific amounts of money we were going to save, commencing in 2019. So yes, Karen, it was a very controversial subject, but it was a controversy that was born of misinformation.
Well, Dan, you and I can access commissioner meeting
Okay.
minutes.
Oh, here we go.
You know, we can do our due diligence too.
Okay.
We've had, for the most part, good communication with the commissioners. There's been a couple of holes maybe that not always the information was flowing.
$500,000 hole.
You know, so anyway, it happened.
It did.
I was unaware too. But we find ourselves in this situation.
Well, and your point's well made. We can go and we can hawk the commissioners' meetings in minutes, but we did what I considered to be one step more. We asked the question. We made it clear in 2012 what we expected, and then we asked the question, hey, guys, when does it expire? I mean, that's pretty, you go to the source and you ask them, when does this expire? That's pretty due diligent, isn't it? Other than one of us taking time off of our work, going up there and saying, I want to see every single contract in this county, and I want to review it over the next 2-3 weeks. We asked the people, when does this expire?
Well, there were a couple commissioners that weren't there.
No.
Then.
That's true.
It was done in a public meeting, and I'm not here to debate that. We have a problem.
We do.
We have a problem, and we're here today to fix the problem. Doesn't matter anymore how we got to the problem. We have to fix the problem.
Those who
And
choose-
we might be facing some serious litigation. I'm not saying, do we need to go out to 2024? Heck no, I'm not saying that. But do we need to have a way for the commissioners to possibly negotiate, settle? Maybe we can't enter into a new lease, but to find some viable solutions, or do we just want to cut them off at the knees and say, we're not going to fund this anymore, and let them sue us, and let's maybe lose
So
some
your
millions of
idea,
dollars?
so just out of curiosity, and
I'm open to discussion, and Harold and I have had lots of discussion about this. We now know from the double secret, not so secret legal opinion that the lease is void. I don't think we as a body can extend a void lease. I don't think we as a body can fund a void lease. That law, or that case came out specifically to address this kind of thing. So I think we're you're right, it is what it is, and we are where we are, but the fact of the matter is, to a large degree, our hands are tied. Even if we wanted to extend this lease, I don't think we can. I think it would require a whole new lease, and I think that lease would have to go through the procedure required by law, and that requires notice, and that requires signatures, and there's a reason for that, because we don't want these weird and this isn't even on the vendor. He's not elected, at least not to county office, but I mean, it's the people that are elected, the commissioner at the time, and the prosecutor, quite frankly. These people who are elected to do things open.
Well,
So
we can't
so
get
we
into
can't-
these. It's only the commissioners. that can
Exactly,
get
so
into
here we are. So we have this thing, and the question is, what can we do? So I think my suggestion, you're right, we might very well be eastbound and down, headed to litigation. I hope not, but what can we do? So
Well,
I think,
50 signatures? Laura, where are you?
go.
Laura Stafford, and I can probably get those outside of an hour.
Have a public meeting. Let's vet this thing. Let's vet a market analysis. Let's see what happens. Because I would love to do that. That would be wonderful to see how this shapes up. All the wonderful improvements. I'd love to go over to the city of Valpo and ask for the building permits. I'd love to do all those things. But at this point, we have what we have. And so I think that the safest and smartest answer for us is, at this point, don't unfund 4D. I keep hearing that crap. We're not unfunding 4D. We're putting the money that we know that we will undoubtedly need it in some form or fashion to support the 4D office in a fund that can be accessed whatever direction things end up going. So maybe the commissioners do decide that they're just dying to stay there, and someone does go get 51 signatures. We do have the statutorily required public meetings. It is brought to us like it's supposed to be instead of the backdoor stuff, and we have a public hearing, we decide we want to stay there. So, or at least we have the money there.
Well, that's what I wanted to do, is preserve the money there.
That's my
To give the
suggestion.
commissioners this option.
So that's my
what we're
suggestion.
looking at, we're discussing moving it to the
To
council.
the council, contractual. The end. Now,
That's
with
the money's
that,
still held there, but it's not going to.
we've not appropriated for the lease extension, so we've preserved that legal argument, but on the other hand, the money's still sitting somewhere for whatever purpose we need for it to support the 4D office. I think that from our perspective, that's the best we can do, and I think legally, that's all we can do. And I think at this point, the commissioners now need to figure out where they can put 4D by the end of the year, or maybe they're going to reach out to whoever the owners are now, or was before, or office manager once removed, and they're going to try to figure out a way to get the lease approved and proper and legal. But that's
Even
the ball's in their
necessarily
court.
a negotiation. Because we've all been kind of left here hanging.
But the commissioners have known about
That's
this for a long time. These negotiations that you're talking about could have happened months and months ago. It's last minute, not by our fault, that's all I'll say.
So my suggestion, Karen, begs to some of your, if you think about it, some of your concerns, I'm trying to address those. I am. I am trying to, there was some talk of, we don't set the money aside at all. Well, that's not so good, because then what happens if someone does come to us with 51 votes? We do figure out that wherever the 4D is going to land is a great place for them to be, and we don't have the money. So we want to avoid that.
Right, exactly.
So,
Correct me if I'm wrong, setting aside the money, I think it was $90,601.
Right.
Putting that money in the council line item of contractual truly does give the Commissioner's office the option to try to correct the situation. It's clear, the problem's been clearly identified. We know that. Our goal, and I know the Commissioner's goal, should be to find a solution to it. And this gives them the flexibility, if I'm understanding it correctly, to consider that as an option.
Yeah, because at this point, we're setting aside money that if they come to us and say what they might be, and I've read, Laura Bernanke's, Stafford's concerns. Those are concerns that the commissioners need to take into consideration. If they come back to us and say, we're going to move this 4D office over to the new jail in the restaurant area, we need to address Laura's concerns about, and I won't get into some of them, because I did not see a few of them coming, by the way. The security issues and the privacy issues and all those things that need to be addressed is required by, first of all, decency, but second of all, the notion of not losing our funding, not losing our reimbursement, all those things the commissioners are going to have to take into consideration, and maybe they come back to us and say, yeah, we can do it, here it is, it's going to cost this much for build-out. We got money sitting there. Or they come back to us and say, look, guys, you ain't going to believe it, we can't do it. Well, I'm going to have some choice words for the commissioners at that point, but the fact of the matter is we can address our options at that point when they come back to us.
But just to be clear, I think we're looking for the commissioners, if they do choose to stay in that building, which I am not saying they should, but if they do, everything's got to be handled the correct way, and it's got to be 50 signatures in public meetings. That's the only way I'm on board personally, just speaking for myself.
Truthfully, I feel like as a council, we are doing our job. We are protecting that money. We are setting it aside. We will ask when the commissioners tell us what they are proposing.
So let's take this down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
Vicki, can you zero out the 90,000?
Sure.
601?
Do you want a motion first?
I think we probably want to address that resolution.
First, and then this?
So.
Whatever. Let's
Because
move
then she
forward.
can file subsequent to
Let's make a motion to pass a resolution.
I'll second that motion.
We've got a first, we've got a second. Is there any more discussion or comments?
Yeah.
You want to read it?
I think there is some other discussion. I mean, 4D, unbeknownst to them, they're the ones that are getting bounced around like a rubber ball. I mean, it really is, unknowing to them, here they're stuck in this circumstance that we put them in, and now they're looking at moving in 3 months or moving in 2 months.
You better be doing the royal we, my friend, because I don't consider myself part of that we.
Well, if they need help, I'm there.
I'm there to help them too, but when you say things like, we put them there.
The reality of it is, we're moving the funding, and I want to make
We
sure
don't have a lot of choice.
that there's some latitude with the commissioners. And the latitude to me would be that in negotiation, there's always 6 or 7 different ways to look at something, and Dan will tell you he has an opinion on liability, but I'll put 4 other attorneys in the room, and they'll all have some other opinion on liability.
Yeah, but they're wrong, Jeff.
I know, Dan, you're always right. It's okay, I've just come to know that. But the reality of this whole situation is that I believe you should exhaust every possible solution first, And I think that whether we look at that lease as invalid or how damning it's become to us because of what was done during the lease, the reality of it is we all know that it's not valid. It's not just invalid, it's not valid, period. And so we're not funding a continuation of the lease because there is no lease. So understanding that was like eye-opening in itself. But if we choose to not even negotiate with the people that own the building, you can bet that they will litigate against us. I can guarantee you that. And then on top of that, you can bet that we're going to spend $20,000 to $40,000 moving you guys out of the structure, another $100,000 prepping that building over there to get you into that structure, and then another $20,000 or $30,000 to move you to the correct floor where we're at. Now, I would be irresponsible looking at that and say, I just don't want them to negotiate at all. There's another legal way to do this. It's called a settlement. We could actually have them look at something outside of a lease for a short term and do a settlement without the 50 votes needed. Now, is that something that the public should be aware of? Absolutely. But I am not hardlining the 50-vote issue. I would like to see at least an option where if the commissioners felt they could move forward and we could reach some type of agreement, even if it's for less money, to not dislocate this whole circumstance and let the 40 court stay in place, I would be totally for moving forward with this resolution. Being a hard line and we're going to follow this to the end and we're going to pound this out now, our end goal is looking at the jail, are we not?
And Jeff, what I was going to, just so you know, and I think those are valid, The only thing that the resolution says is that the council is not going to appropriate on this lease. That's it.
Right.
And I don't think by
I don't even
the
think we
resolution
should have a motion for that, because it's not a lease. We've had a
No, but I think,
determination.
there's some talk in the statute in the case law that says you're required to have a resolution.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm saying there is no lease. I mean, we know that for a fact, because the determination was made on opinion and research that there is no valid lease, so.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that the resolution is solely
Right.
for the appropriation.
Yeah, but I've heard some hard talk about saying, well, this is the only way we're going to accept this, and this is, and you know, I'm looking at...
That was my opinion.
I'm looking at a group of people out here,
Stand your ground.
and I am very familiar with some of the situations that happen in that court, with having kids when I taught, and I can tell you, any disruption in that court system is a major malfunction in what's going on in their lives. And so if we're not fully prepared to move them to another facility or get something done where they're confident in where they are, this is going to upset the apple cart. I mean, it's really going to be a mess.
And you understand, Jeff, that I don't disagree with that to a degree. One is, as I said, probably now ad nauseum, we do not want to unfund 4D. We want to make sure that the 4D office is funded and functioning.
I agree with that, Dan. I agree that you said that, and I agree that you talked about funding it. My focus is not having to relocate them. I don't care who owns the freaking building. That's not the issue. I just don't want to have to move them and then remove them again.
And I agree with that, but calling it a settlement, to me, is just re-signing a lease and putting us
It's
right
not a
back in
lease.
this.
I understand, but a settlement, no, it's not.
In my
Because in the
opinion-
legal opinion, a settlement is not a lease.
Well, I would not vote for it, and that was my comment. I wasn't commenting for anyone else.
Well, maybe we should
It's
keep,
done properly.
and maybe we should keep it simple, and if we're just going to, is the motion to not appropriate and set the monies aside, without any, we're not, the council, my suggestion would be that the motion not be for directing how the monies are going to be used, whether it's for alternate housing, whether it's going to be for some sort of reworking, or however it's phrased, whether it's just a contingency for housing for 4D. I think if we just keep the resolution simple, because truly, how it's going to be resolved is outside of this body's bailiwick anyways. I mean, so...
Well, to a degree, except for we'll have to appropriate the funds for whichever direction it goes. Now, I have a motion on the floor for this resolution, although it looks like it might be a resolution.
Yeah, and this resolution, my understanding is just, again, to invalidate that lease extension that we were never included in to begin with, so that we weren't approached. This just takes us out of that, and we're just going to move the money over, and we're not, the options for the commissioners are still on the table, all the options. This is just,
So let's clarify that. So if we're doing the resolution as what Dan approved, are we going to get a separate motion for moving the money?
Yes, my motion is for the resolution. We'll get to the money.
Very good.
We've got a first, we've got a second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Rivas?
yes.
Councilmember Conover?
No.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
And Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
6-1.
Okay, next up, do we want to discuss where we're moving the money?
I think that's appropriate. My suggestion was to move it to the contractual line item in the county council budget. That's probably the easiest for us to get to later if we need to.
Is that a motion, Dan?
That's a motion?
Second.
We've got a first, we've got a second to move the money to our council budget and contractual. Anyone have any questions or comments in regards to that?
So we're zeroing out that line item of,
Yes.
She zeroed it out, I think.
And you can make the corrections for third reading. Yep, sounds good to me.
Anyone else have any questions?
You know, I think, again, the problem we've talked about ad nauseum, and we've clearly identified it. The goal, as I mentioned, should be to resolve it. We've got to fix it. And I think doing this by having the money available and giving the Commissioner's office some options It allows them to do what they need to do to minimize the disruption to 4D, which is incredibly important, minimize the potential risk of potential litigation, which is also important to the taxpayers, and hopefully, and I know that the commissioners too, the goal will be, and our goal should be to minimize the cost and expense of the whole process by eliminating unnecessary additional construction costs as a result. So I think we're doing the right thing in terms of leaving those options on the
Go
table.
along with that discussion is, if we don't have this resolved, I think that a date like November 7th was thrown around, that if we don't have something taken care of prior to that, we've already encroached into the possible completion of moving them into that structure. So
What's November 7th?
Yeah, what is that? I'm sorry.
Well, that would be
Election
like,
day.
that would be like an estimated time frame they would need to actually appropriate or move forward on the construction project. So we could ask Scott if he'd like to step forward and maybe give us some kind of time frame on how this could all unfold.
What's the question?
Is there a time frame for all this negotiation to occur?
And you understand that my idea is also, I don't want you to preclude the idea of, I expect this office to be moved by the end of the year if we can't get this resolved. Because we're not going to spend one day, not with my vote anyway, on a lease that's void. So, I guess that question could be the alternative.
Speaking from what I've heard, I think it's clear. I mean, the direction is you've moved the money into your contractual account. What I have not heard is there are not 4 votes to attempt to try to settle this, and so we're going to move them. I mean, I think it's simple as that. I mean, if you guys want to have, that's where we're at.
And let me clarify.
It's pretty cut and dry.
I just want to clarify that I wasn't saying that I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying if it's going to be done like that, and that's what you guys choose to do, it needs to be to the letter of the law. And nothing can be up here.
We don't have any room to negotiate if we don't have your board's support that we go forward
But I think the process is
and settle.
go back and talk. If there's no other options, if you don't think that it's proper for them,
They're trying to,
reading Laura's letter, if you don't think it's proper for them to do that, then
I'm trying to do what?
exhaust the options. I mean, look at your options. If you think the best way to do that, then talk to them and come back and present to us something. But I think it needs to be presented following the law.
you don't, so here's the thing. We've made it very clear that, yes, you have to the end of the year to move this. And by the way, that's not extraordinarily off of the time frame that we asked 9 months ago. So that's
We're
not,
willing to
that's not
move
new. Let
that.
me finish, please, Commissioner. So we're not, so this isn't something new and improved that we're laying on. This is something that we've been saying for months. So you got to the end of the year. We know that. That hasn't changed, or, there it is, still there. And so go get it. Now, if you want to come back to us later with some other options, this body will entertain it. My suggestion is, don't settle anything until you come back to us.
Communication.
My suggestion is, don't finalize anything until you come back to us, because it's going to do little service to you to come back to us and say, we settled it, we're going to stay there for another 2 years and 1 day and 3 hours. And we say, absolutely not. And we consider this a new lease, you better vet it through the process. So my suggestion is, wherever the road leads you, you know that you need to come back to us and present to this board to fund whichever option you take.
That's kind of what I
That's it.
meant.
No, you're asking us for a vote right now to
No, I'm
tell you to go
not
out
asking for a vote.
No, you
I
just
did not ask for a
you
vote.
just said, as did the county attorney, that there hasn't been 4 votes, and I'm quoting here, and I'm being really good at making sure I remember the mic's on, that there hasn't been 4 votes to settle. That
There's
was the
clearly not
that was the
board
comment.
support in
So
what
what
we're
you need to do,
intending.
I think, now you're the commissioners and you're the county attorney, and you're both good at what you do, and my suggestion is you go forth and come back to us if something fruitful comes and you think you've got a solution, but I think that the clear directive is we need to have a spot for 4D January 1st, 2019. I think that's it.
And I think us moving that money over, I think Mike was saying it, it's clear that I think the options are on the table. I don't think we ruled out anything.
But we heard you guys say they need to move out. They're moving, that we're moving them out.
I don't believe
You didn't say that, but I heard other people say that.
Andy?
I think the options are open. I think that's the point of what we're trying to say.
Just,
And also,
Mr. Hicks had something.
I also believe that it's unfair to categorize that we said 9 months ago, or even 6 months ago, that we knew what was going on, because we just got the determination on this.
Yeah, but that's not true, Jeff. We got it from our lawyer.
A long time ago.
We got it from our lawyer.
We knew this was.
We knew this was going, and as you may recall, I said a couple of times, make sure we have the option in place. And as you may recall, Commissioner Good sat right there and wanted to debate me on that. Wanted to sit right there and debate me and say, oh, that's going to be discussed at an executive session, which, first of all, I'm not sure that's appropriate for an executive session, but second of all I said was, it's well within my right to tell you, you better have an option in place. So, yeah, this has been, we've been discussing this, and we're done with all that. So the remains of the day are this. We've set money aside, or we're presumably going to set money aside. The thought is, we're not going to pay on a void lease. So you either need to move them, or if you have some other idea, come on back to us, and we'll talk about it. What else do you want from us?
Dan, let's not forget that I think this all came about because Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were making a phone call at the beginning of the year to let the landlords know that we were moving out at the end of the year, and that's where all this started. So the goal was, we bought the buildings, moved them over, and then that's when you called to let them know we're leaving. So where did this take the back burner? We should have been planning from that point in time. Yeah, we found out, oh crap, there's an extension nobody knew about, but the plan was always to get them over there. That's why we purchased the building in part. So to say that this is new, that was the plan from the get-go.
That's exactly right, Jeremy, because
Well,
Jim, you sat right
and to
there
be
and
clear,
said-
there is, the plan has progressed on the,
Awesome.
on the 4D space in 157. Let's be clear, putting them in the restaurant isn't that plan. The plan progressing to put 4D on the first floor has been going through the planning process. That has been happening. That's not the same as this. And I'm not trying to argue. I mean, that's not the same thing. I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, that's the issue.
So, but this isn't a new subject, is my point.
No, it's just different space, different timing, that's all. And again, I'm not trying to pick a fight any more than, we're just, at the end of the day.
To me, I guess I would have
Same
thought
space.
that call, knowing that maybe the expo center shouldn't have been the priority. Maybe that old jail should have been the priority.
In all fairness,
so that it
not
became
the
a
least-
process.
The lease, we were at that point in time, we were unaware that the lease was void.
Yeah, but hold on. That's not necessarily true. So there was an opinion that it wasn't void or voidable, but there was a lot of discussion certainly that it could be. And we asked our attorney to craft an opinion, and he did so. And he brought forth some glaring issues with the lease. So this isn't something that just, I get it. There was the independent, confidential, they didn't call it that anymore, legal opinion that was obtained. That came later, but we had lots of conversations.
Sure.
So.
We did.
But the point is, we're here now.
Real quick, Commissioner Biggs had something for us.
Let me just ask the council, whatever decision you make this evening, and I direct my question to our legal counsel, both Board of Commissioners and that it doesn't jeopardize our standing in receiving 4D reimbursement from the federal government if we take it out of where it's currently at.
Mrs. Stafford has a question.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify a funding issue. So, first off, if we are paying rent in a place, the county fronts that money, and the county gets 66% of that. If we move into a county building, we become an indirect cost, like IT, photocopies, and that kind of stuff, which is potentially a lot less money than they would be getting back had versus paying. The second thing is, any build-out in the restaurant is considered temporary, and we could not use 40 funds to do that. It would not be reimbursable. So all that would come out of the general. We could not ask for 66% of that because it's temporary. Now, the permanent space is a different situation. But anything that costs that temporary cost,
Well, just to clarify, it doesn't necessarily have to come out of the general fund. We have other funds available that are non-general fund. So I understand what you're saying. And to that point, and we've had discussions, the all of us, you're right, the indirect, cost or reimbursement might not be 66% of money we're paying to somebody, but we're not paying rent either. So, there's that. So, but yeah, we understand that moving you somewhere by the end of the year isn't your forever home, and we get that, and we're going to have to weigh all that into our decision-making if and when options come back to us, and I'm telling you, maybe the option is you're moved January 1st, and then you're moved again 9 months later, which is terrible, but that's the way the lease crumbles. So, we'll weigh that into it, but your points are well made and well taken. Thank you, Laura.
Commissioner Bix?
Just one last, I had a two-part statement. I'd just like to ask the county council, whatever decision you make this evening, considering everything that's going on here, we cannot turn the clock back to 2014 or 2099. But what we can...
2099 would be before, just to clarify. They want to confuse it more than it was.
You may still be here.
What is this? This is like Back to the Future. Go ahead, man.
But what I ask you to do this evening is make a decision that allows the commissioners to make the best decision for county government. The damage that has been done up to this point has been done, whether you think it's damage or you don't think there's anything. But what has been done up to this point has been done. Moving forward, please make a decision that allows us to make the best financial decision for county government moving forward.
So to take a virtual trip back in time about 5 minutes, that's what we're doing. So we're setting the money aside. The thought is you're going to move 4D. If you come up with something different, come back to us. Love to talk with you about it. I mean, honestly, this is terrible. This is a terrible situation that's been befelled upon us, and it's just, we got to deal with it. So my motion's on the floor. I move that money to the contractual line item of the county council, and I think it's been seconded, so I guess I'd like the question.
Well, I guess I'd like to make another statement or ask another question. With this money we're going to put aside in our budget for contractual, does it tie their hands, the commissioners' hands, to not be able to negotiate, staying in the current space if something can be negotiated? I'm concerned about putting this government in jeopardy of litigation.
We're not going to put the government in jeopardy. And
I think
furthermore,
we are.
No, that's silly. And this putting the money aside does not, it doesn't preclude them from going out and trying to find other resolution. That's why we're putting the money there. That's the polar opposite.
So they can bring back a plan that hopefully agrees with you.
Yeah, that would be, if they want my vote, yeah, of course. And I'm telling you, this whole thing, now we're not talking about the leasing of a fax machine here. I mean, there are serious implications to the office that is supposed to function in there, and there's serious implications to how this came about. Serious implications. So, yes, I'm looking at this with a real jeweler's eye. So, yeah, I would really, let them come back to us. I'm open to discussion. Come back to us. And we're going to weigh all the things that Laura just told us, that the cost of litigation, what the potential looks like, making sure that we don't do something that runs afoul of the state statute. We've had enough of that. So no more closed-door, back-door meetings over at whatever person's office. We're going to do it all right here. It's all going to happen here in the open, and we're going to air this thing out, and we're going to fix it.
Dan Whitten, have you not had coffee with our attorney on occasion? Do you need to check that out with Jeff Good?
Let me tell you something. I have never, ever taken a legal opinion from this board or that board and taken it to somebody that's on the other side and revealed. He doesn't own it. He doesn't own it. What do you mean the vendor?
You're right.
He doesn't own it. But the fact of the matter is, clearly, all this talk of potential litigation, he's not on our side, the vendor. The vendor's on the other side. That's how litigation works. And to think that you would take confidential, come on, man.
Confidential?
Legal opinion that these taxpayers have paid for and reveal it to the other side before you tell anybody.
It was not confidential.
Yes, it was. Before you tell anybody on the fist, you couldn't pick up the phone, you couldn't make a text, you couldn't tie a note to a rock and throw it through somebody's window, but you found the time. He
Dan, you...
All right, that's my
I think
point.
you got some points there, but let's move forward.
All right, my motion's on the floor.
Okay, we've got a first, we've got a second. Is there anything further?
The only thing is, this is getting us out of over $500,000 of a contract that was not presented to this body. Over 500, no, let me get it right, $500,000, over $500,000 of a lease that was not presented to this board. When I asked, and I was on here, when does it expire? It's 2018. That's what I'm looking at. And
The lease is void.
everything is on the table as far as I'm concerned.
That's
It's moving
incorrect for
forward.
itself, because it's only 30,000 we're on the hook for every year. So,
Well,
I said that's
no.
incorrect total. We're only on the hook for 30,000 because they pay 66% of the lease agreement.
It's taxpayer dollars that we're forking out.
So, and the other
A
issue...
lease that wasn't bought in front of us.
Okay, but it's not, it's done, it's void.
Yep, that's fine, but,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, we've got a motion, we've got a second. Roll call, please, Ms. Vicki.
Councilmember Conover.
No, I don't even know what I'm voting on. Are we
We're
voting on?
move the money.
A money, okay, in
In the contract.
contractual line item, yes.
Just
For
moving
the
it.
council, correct.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes,
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Witten.
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
And that's 7-0.
Okay, motion carries.
Yes, 7-0.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Scott. Okay, next up, we had a few other housekeeping items as far as increases.
thank you.
We'll give a minute for the room to clear. Yeah, but I kept talking.
Shouldn't we do this?
We did.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we passed that, so we just need to sign it.
All right, what are we moving on to?
All right.
What do we got to clean up? Health?
Yeah, let's discuss the health department. She had come to us. You guys want to speak now? You guys want to come down and explain?
Your turn.
Oh, no. Energy's expended now, we're good. So you guys are looking to increase some hourly wages, correct?
Yes, for the part-time staff.
Okay. And we're going to, where are you going up from?
The nurses are going up $1. No, just $1.
Just $1 in increase? And you're not asking for any more in your budget for this, right?
No.
Just want it up to,
Yes.
okay. I make the motion.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Larson.
He stepped out.
He stepped out. Councilmember Witten.
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
And Councilmember Conover.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, do we want to look at the...
Well, I have a question. I mean, sort of generally speaking, just in conversations, and yes, one or two of those for the sober bunch, was the talk about what did we do with the special raises versus the 4%, and was it 4% on top of the special raise, was it special? So I kind of wanted to just sort of revisit that so we can make sure we're on the same team.
It's my understanding that the question is, do we give 4% raises on current salaries, and then the special raises get added? Not 4% on the special raises.
Agreed.
I would agree with that.
I think that's true.
And I think Vicki confirmed that earlier, that if someone's making an amount today, that was the 4%, we gave a 4% increase on that, and then gave the special
Then you
raise.
gave
So you didn't get the
double
4% on the special raise.
You gave two different raises. That's how we approached it. Because if we gave the special raise then a 4%,
You're up.
we're really getting ourselves potentially
So that's what you're
Good
doing.
clarification.
down the road.
Something I wanted to bring up, we did for the Plan Commission, There's a couple of employees were getting some large raises, like $10,000, and the last time we passed it, we discussed they were also going to get the 4%. I have a concern with that, because the reason we didn't give our IT director the 4% was because we gave him such a large raise. So in my opinion, we either need to change what we're doing and not give that 4% to the, excuse me, what? Oh, the 4% to the Plan Commission in addition to their special raise, or we need to do it for the IT director. Give him the 4% and the $10,000, just to be fair, because what we did, to me, wasn't very fair. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that, or?
Well, do we give 4% on their current salary and then the special raise on top of that? That makes a difference.
Well, I think those are large raises, $10,000 raises, $7,000 raises. In my opinion, like, I think what happened with Don, we said no to the 4% because he's getting a $10,000 raise. I think we should just follow that. I don't think the 4% raises should go to the Plan Commission on top of 10,000, 7, 7, and 10. Let's go along the path that we did with Don and another person, I believe.
I personally think that makes sense. I don't know what everyone else's thoughts are on that. It just seems...
So your suggestion is then to, I don't know. So one thing we did one year was, and I know Vicki would cringe at this maybe, but we said, look, if we gave someone a special raise and that was more than 4%, they just got the special raise. If it was less than 4%, we gave them the 4% instead.
Correct.
And maybe that's the simplest way to do this.
My fear with that is what Vicki brought up. When we were doing Vicki's raises for her department, she said the reason she had to get special raises was to even out what we created last year, correct?
Yes, and you didn't give me my full request.
It hasn't been corrected.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
So I think we're going to continue that.
I
think that's a slightly different issue, though. But go ahead, Vicki.
Yes. Yes, mine was a special request. Mine was a special raise. And you did give a few other special raise and 4% to some others. Others just got the special raise. Others just got the 4%. Most just are getting the 4%.
So wouldn't it seem, from you as the auditor, doesn't it seem logical to tell you, I don't know how quickly you could do that, but calculate what a 4% raise would be. If that's more than a special raise, that's what they get. If it's less, they get that special raise that we approve.
Does that not throw off what happened in your department?
That's what I
would
would
do.
You're just starting the problem again for next year.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have more people on the level.
Well, that would be my request. Are you sticking with that policy with my request? If so, then we'll adjust it that way. Or are you going case by case and saying,
We're going to be here all
I
night.
don't want to go back case by case. I'll go back and revise my request to change the numbers so it's just a special request.
And I'm sure you wouldn't be the only one in the county.
So we got time for more meetings to pass the budget?
No, we don't.
That's what I'm saying.
We have to pass.
I mean, I don't care, I'm just saying,
Quite
clarify.
truthfully, I think a few of us have, certainly I feel like we're being more than generous, giving it 4% across the board, and having either or. You get the special raise or the 4%. That's how we've done it in the past. Isn't that what you were saying, Dan?
That's been your policy.
Yes,
But
been our
I thought
policy.
you corrected our policy. You needed us to refine that.
Yeah, our policy was causing you
Just for my
problems.
department.
But it's doing it to other departments too, I'm sure.
Not necessarily.
No, it isn't. She has a very unusual,
I mean, I see your,
she was given a problem that
So-
hasn't been corrected yet.
So look, so the thought is, if somebody, so I get it. So the thought is, if somebody comes in front of us and says, man, this position's got to be $4,000 more to be competitive. And we give them $4,000, don't give them the percentage raise, now they're falling behind because other people got the percentage raise that we're playing catch-up. I get that. But, I mean, we've got some folks in this county that are ending up with a 13%, 21% raise maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, things that are just so skewed.
Yeah, totally.
But just a thought. I mean, again,
I'm open to both. I was just throwing out my opinion on it, but I am open to whatever. Someone needs to make a motion now.
No, I agree with Dan. There's 16%, 16%, 19.5%, 22% raise,
Crazy.
and we're, all
So it's 4%.
we're only getting 4%
It's
to
the higher of the two.
98% of the county. So I think we're being fair when we give a special raise at $10,000 and say, oh, by the way, you're not getting the 4%.
That's right.
I mean,
So do people just go
That
back and
emotion.
ask for more next year? I'm just asking, I don't know.
But would it be as simple as saying it's either the special raise or the 4%, whichever is greater?
That's what I said.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. You make a motion?
Did I make that motion?
Yes.
Second. First and second, any questions or comments in regards to that? So it's going to be the higher of the two, the either special raise or the 4%. Chief Vigneri. Sorry.
No.
One of the departments is asking for a $1,400 increase to our GIS operator. And for whatever reason, I think I mentioned to the council, I don't know how it happened, but he's paid $1,400 less than our operations, our quality assurance operator, who's part of our staff. What I was trying to do is bring parity. I was asking for the increase based on the job that the individual is doing and not the person. He's one of the lowest paid mapping persons in the state. We're fortunate to have him, and the increase is based on his job and not really, doesn't matter who is in that position. And what would happen with this is that I was asking for some parity with the administration. If he isn't given his increase prior to the 4%, I'm still going to be in a situation where he's making $1,400 less than the person working next to him.
That's kind of a...
So,
That's all I'm...
We're always confronted, unfortunately.
so if it's the higher of the two, the higher raises, which I understand, then, I mean, he's still going to be making less money than my other administrator. So that's all I'm just sharing with the council, just kind of bringing that up. We did do a job analysis and look at his job description, and we're trying to get him based on the job he does, as opposed to just looking at him as the individual. So I just appreciate the opportunity to share that. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
And I think that's kind of what I was trying to get across, is I think we, by doing it the way that we've just moved, could be causing more problems next year, so. All right, we've got a motion, we've got a second. Any questions or comments?
I just think that some of those departments that got those large increases have seen double or triple their workload in some of those departments. And we've got engineers that are making $115,000, working for a director that's making $90,000.
May not pass.
So I guess I'm kind of questioning the logic, and some of those we haven't addressed for a couple of years. I think planning, we didn't address their raises last year other than the 4%, and that workload's been added for 2 years now, and there's been no addressing in those salaries. I get that you guys are looking at 16% raises, but we've been trying to get these departments up where there is some direction in the department.
And just to, on that point, I mean, keep in mind that we did kind of address Planning Commission. I think that the commissioners pulled the request.
They did,
Yeah.
and that was,
And they had reasons.
we kind of laid that back on them, and they had some reasons and discussions, but that's been the second year that they haven't.
Right.
So,
And I'm sorry, were you done?
No, go ahead.
I agree with you, Jeff. I think personally, I'm going to be voting no on this because I'd like us to do the 4% and then add the special raise for reasons that Mr. Brickner's brought up and things that we saw in Vicki Urbanek's department. So that's my opinion. Any other questions or comments?
I'm dying to hear the vote.
Roll call, please, Ms. Vicki.
What?
can we clarify?
Yes,
Can we
what-
clarify?
what is
His
it?
motion was, the motion is to hire the two. Either the 4% raise the motion is, or
Or the-
the special raise.
The special ways we
Not
approved, not all the ones we didn't, but the ones we approved,
There you go.
you know. So,
Did you get that?
I'm dying to hear this vote. Let's roll.
So that applies even to the ones that you agreed earlier, or
Yeah.
tentatively agreed.
It changes,
Nothing more.
nothing happens till final reading.
Exactly.
Let's roll.
Okay, 4% or higher.
It ain't gonna
Okay.
pass, let's just get on to the...
Councilmember Jessen,
Yes.
Councilmember Larson,
No.
Councilmember Witten,
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick,
No.
Councilmember Rivas,
No.
Councilmember Conover,
No.
and Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Okay, so it is 4 to 3, 4 no votes to 3 yes.
Okay, I don't know if someone else has a motion. Again, I would like to suggest that we do the 4% raise and then add the special raises in on top of that for everybody besides the juvenile probation officer, because he already got a special raise and a state mandated raise. My opinion, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
So you want to add, you want to go back, and the ones that we specifically said weren't getting both, you want to change that?
In my opinion, that's only one, correct? That's just,
Right. So
that's just on
I
Wellness.
just want to be clear, I wasn't
No,
David.
I just want to make sure I'm clear that it's only him.
Settle down, big guy.
I
I'm
second
just
that
trying to get a
motion.
handle on you.
I can't make a motion because I'm the
I'll
chair.
make the motion.
I second.
We got a motion, we've got a second, for the 4% raise and the special raise.
Can we,
Just for the IT director.
yeah.
That's the only one that would change, everything else is pretty
Can I,
already approved.
can you guys let us know where we are, though, financially?
Yeah, as part of the discussion, let's talk about how much it's going to cost.
Oh,
Good point.
idea.
Very good. Good point, Mike.
Wait a minute, Vicki, bring it back. Vicki will crack that.
Right now,
Yeah,
in our
okay.
general, well, let's see, this is not a general. Donna, yes.
Don is the only addition, right?
Right, so we give him the 4% raise.
We're done, man.
Yeah, we
Jeez.
have two departments.
Don gets beat up. Good thing you're tall and tough, Don.
Come up later.
Yeah.
You came up with 339.
Oh, they're all talking.
Do we have the money?
That's what we're gonna find out. We don't have any.
Oh, that's right.
Old man.
What is it, 17?
We're gonna, oh.
I got a Werther, Jonah Werther.
6,900.
Thanks for sharing.
And I'm-
Hey, you're welcome. Miss Joy takes care of us.
Yeah, you,
I brought my home from her office. She used to get it.
Where are you at? Yeah,
If we can afford it.
Does it matter? We're talking about one guy, I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be a large number.
But I just want to be clear, so the thought
We're
is,
giving it all this.
we're given the percentage on the current pay and then the special
Is that
raise
what
on
you're
top of that.
saying?
What we've already
Is that what you're saying, Jeff?
Correct, though. But the only thing that I'm asking for.
Andy's talking. Don't you guys remember the microphones are on?
We gotta talk to you, 'cause Mr. Webb.
that's a unique thought, Dan.
What did I want to say?
You're just cut off.
Mental note. Move the mic forward.
So we don't get special.
So you get one or the other.
We discussed the percentages.
Andy,
On the current pay, make the percentage on the current pay and then special raise.
Sylvia and I had the discussion about 4% was killing us.
But
Three and a half would have been better.
Karen,
3.5.
are you suggesting, so I understand everybody's thought, that we give a percentage on the current, if we give a special raise, we get a percentage on the current pay,
The current salary.
plus then the special raise on top of that? So it's not,
Right, it's not on their.
I want to make sure I understand.
Not on their
Salary.
pay.
You know me, I like to avoid acrimony, so I like to just air all this out beforehand. Make
Does
sure
that
we're
make
good.
sense?
Makes sense to me.
Andy, does that make sense?
that's what I thought it was, yes.
I'm still waiting to find out if
So
the
can we
balance is at the end
support
of the
such
night.
a thing? I mean,
That's what we're asking, right?
well, if that one change puts us over the top, we're in trouble.
We gotta get a number from the auditor.
She's working it.
She told us.
That's what they're working with.
Oh, okay.
Take it easy, Sylvia, it's easy, just on everybody's case tonight.
No, it's first time I
Take
spoke
it, this
out.
is supposed to be a friendly meeting,
Yeah, you let Sylvia speak.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be cutting her off.
Don't get me started. My side.
Already with
Don't get me going with my sidebar comment.
That
I'm
was
just gonna
the-
scoot over here.
That was the largest loose cannon incident I think we've seen.
If you guys wanted to stick with the absolute maximum of 1.2, we're over it. so.
We're over.
Yeah, and now we're
Thank
trying to
you.
calculate FICA and PERS on that.
So let me, if I could just ask, if I dare, how far, so this one change, we made
Yes.
the one salary,
We
put
were
us over?
so close to the maximum with everything that you
4% on what he
did.
makes now?
Yes, yes.
We were
How much?
close? How much difference? 3,500?
But all the
Well, I
raises
want to
that
get
we
this
gave
straight.
the other night.
We're within
we were right there.
$3,500 of being over our maximum of 1.2 mil?
You have two CPAs telling you yes.
Wow.
Take it on Dan's salary.
Second?
That was the projected budget, not the max levy. We're not sure what that will
Right,
be
we don't know.
until it
So,
goes
okay.
through the first
So-
review.
So we're doable with this number?
Just go.
Okay, we've got a motion, we've got a second.
How are we,
Any more questions or comments?
we're gonna pass it?
Where are we going with this?
You guys make a
Maybe we got a motion
motion.
on the table, but we were already in trouble before this, correct? I mean,
No.
you're $3,500 off.
No.
That's how close we are.
That's it.
So before we, if we
Nothing.
don't do anything for
Let's not draw attention to
I'm not
being on the
singling
fence here. Let's
John.
just,
I'm
let's
not
just...
No, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't saying that by any means. I was just wondering. By not using Don, we were there.
That's
Take it
reality.
easy, Andy, man, you're really on...
About to whip me out over here.
roll, man.
Yeah. Following your lead.
Aiden's here, I mean, I gotta put on the show, man. Okay.
So let's just have this vote.
Yeah, let's have the vote.
You gave.
Albeit,
Okay, hold, there is some wiggle room. Hold on a minute. Let's get a clarification on how the wage was increased.
We did 4% on the raise, on the salary that's current. Then we added the special raise.
Not including the 4%.
No,
Okay.
we gave two different raises, basically.
Okay, so the 4% was on the original
Yes,
salary.
we did not
No.
increase people's salary and then 4%.
All right, that's
And we're still over.
fantastic. Can we have that vote?
Albeit, the largest component of the budget, how confident are you, Vicki, that the other components of the budget, at the end of the night, we're going to be in good shape?
you never put her on the spot like that in a public meeting.
Is
That's a guy that hope for the best.
Is that the guy that always puts her on the spot?
No, I do it privately, at lunch.
But
I
with
don't
respect to
believe
the
we-
general fund, I wanted to go no more than 1.2 million, so we're a little bit over that right now.
It's 1.2...
Yeah, can you give us the real number?
Yeah.
Okay, no, we don't.
Trust me on this, you don't want to go back.
Did we add in FICA?
$1,200,000,
330.
$3,400.
You did add in.
There goes Aiden.
I don't think we've ever gone over.
I'll give up my foundation.
It doesn't affect the general.
Oh, no.
Your grammar is telling us terrible.
Now I do feel bad.
We went through it, okay?
Some insurance money that we can move around.
Or cut it from somewhere else, right? If we're
Well,
looking-
where can we cut it from?
It was in Stevens.
I'm sure we can
I
find
don't
it.
want
If
to,
it's
yeah, but I'd like to
$3,500.
take care of it before.
Well, and that's the other thing, Vicki
We don't
suggested that we do a final reading for the salary ordinance, next meeting, because that just has to be done before the end of the year.
For the general fund.
Yeah, when is that next meeting, going to be Thanksgiving week, or the week before, or?
It's a good conversation to have. It's scheduled for...
What is it,
27th?
Oh, it is for the 27th, so
Okay.
it's the week after.
Right.
So it won't interfere with my Christmas lunch.
Okay, there you go. We got a plan here.
I take that weekend vacation to put up the lights.
Yeah, 2000. So you want to keep all those other raises in?
Not for now, for now. All right?
All right, so,
we had a little more wiggle room there. All right, so I think we probably need to talk about a couple of these other, I want some clarification on a couple others, though, before we finish up the evening.
So are we good with that? Did we take a vote?
Do we take a vote?
I don't know that we want to, because some of what we're going to talk about now, if we change those, might actually have some impact. Although, might not, because a lot of these are not general fund. That's fine, then we'll come back to these.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second to give the 4% raise to Don, in addition to, after that 4% raise, the special raise of $10,000.
Yeah, but what are we gonna do, take them back?
Is there any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please, Ms. Vicki.
Okay, yes. Councilmember Larson,
Yes.
Councilmember Witten,
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas,
Yes.
Councilmember Conover.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham,
Yes.
and Councilmember Jeffers.
Yes.
Okay,
This
7-0.
isn't it, Sylvia, we still have another opportunity to.
Good.
So is that our plan to address the final adoption of the salary ordinance on the meeting of November
I would hope
27th?
that we would finally address that.
I wanted to,
You want to go through those non-general fund items?
I did, I wanted to ask a couple questions. I wanted to get some clarification on a couple things, and I think I want to address them a little bit. One was, on the prosecutor's budget, not the two deputies that I clearly made my opinion in opposition of that raise.
You had an opinion of that?
I did, but the other two.
So it's on the third page of the newspaper.
The other, I know, that's the insulting part. You're going to give me press, get me on the front page, Amy. So, I'm talking about the one...
Live, Dan, go.
Oh, I know that. Get me started. Not the deputies, but the other two. At one point, the prosecutor said, those are so important to me, I'm going to come back and ask for those out of non-general fund
Right.
budget, but we never did that.
We never addressed them.
We never addressed that. And so, do we want to address that now?
Which two are you talking about? Because only one of them says deputy.
So you've got, I mean, it's all just an incredible shell game. So the county court supervisor is a deputy, and the
Okay,
county
thank you.
domestic violence deputy is a deputy. Then we have the office manager, and then we have the court manager, county court, that's over at Portage. So, a couple questions. One is, the office manager, okay, so we have two, those two were separate than the vote we took on the county court supervisor and the domestic violence deputy, which I strongly disagree with. But the other two, I want to talk about those because we didn't.
The office manager,
Yeah.
that when he said we're going to fight over nickels and dimes, he's going to pay it out of
Some other fund.
some other fund.
So, my question, or my concern was, one of these people has 500 and some hours of comp time. 500 and some hours of comp time. Now, that's miles ahead of anybody even close to that. So, that's a problem. And we have a county ordinance that says, limits that, but I know a lot of folks went over. The fact of the matter is, 500 and some hours of comp time. We made a proclamation that we wanted them to address that. The prosecutor said, I'm going to make her exempt, and I want to raise her salary. Okay, but then I asked the county attorney, do we need to raise her salary to make her exempt? And the county attorney said, no, it's fine the way it is. Now, I intended to take that back up when we actually voted on it, but we didn't, so, I mean, what do you guys want to do with the office manager and court manager? And do you know what fund you wanted to take it out of?
Yeah, are we doing anything? Has it been presented?
It was the other night.
He didn't tell us the fund, and he didn't come back. And I think that, by the way, might have just been he just didn't get it. But I mean, he didn't. And that's why I want us to address it now.
Well, he did say that he was willing to do that, and I
mean,
think that we should take a look.
Not aware.
Unaware. I'm not voting to give a $3,000 special raise to somebody that has 500 and some hours of comp time. I'm just telling you that. I'm not voting for that, but you guys might. And if you do, then the question becomes, from where?
Yeah, I don't know how we vote on it. It wasn't presented. Where's it coming
I mean, I don't know. Where did he talk to you sort of privately? Did he sign any sort of contracts with you or anything like that? No?
No.
All right, what do you got?
No, I think it was
Not here now.
based on either some of the written, or what he said during the meeting. We just put it out of his Fund 2503.
Yeah, let's just pick one and have a vote on it. I mean, let's just,
And that's what we did, we just put it in there, but I appreciate wanting the clarification and.
so tell me the fund that you think he wants it out of.
Pretrial Fund 2503, that's what we put in the salary ordinance, assuming this is going to
Yeah.
stay. And so that was an additional $3,000 raise for the one position and an additional $5,119 for the other person. That's in addition to the 4% raise. So
Right.
we put those two special raises in 2503.
All right, so I think we should probably vote on that.
Okay.
All right, do we have a motion? Do we need a motion? Yeah, we need a motion.
We do need a motion.
Someone motion?
Motion.
To do what?
Confused for, I don't know.
To clarify the
To award that, those salary
Out of
increases
2503.
out of that fund,
So your motion is to give...
not general fund money.
Right, no, I get that. So is your motion then to give, like, for example, the person with 500 and some hours of comp time, a $3,000 bump and a 4% raise? Because that's what's in front of us.
Has that person been paid?
Like for the back time?
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't remember that coming.
I thought his suggestion was he was going to have her, he was going to try to pay some out of non-general fund, he was going to have her take some time off. I mean, frankly, the
It
explanation
has to
was...
be cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a good explanation, and it wasn't, and it...
Well, then, because of this past due comp time that needs to be paid out, I would say the 4% raise,
That's right.
because that comp time is substantial,
Right.
county fund. I don't care what fund it comes
Okay, so we
out
have a
of.
motion for just the 4%, dropping the special raises off of both? Or no, just one, I'm sorry.
You know, I don't care so much about the other one, and I understand that the court manager up in Portage, I got that part of it. He's trying to bring her up, and I'm okay with
Does
that.
that kind of equalize
I
what's going
think
to
it
go on
does.
between the two of them?
I think, listen, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it.
Say it.
Okay.
You're out, the mic's live.
So historically, and this isn't a political statement, but historically,
Oh, it's political.
historically, the prosecutor has not come and asked for raises for his department. He's cherry-picked, for whatever reason. Maybe he's, and as I said in the meeting, I get the phone calls from his staff. I think this is one that has been left behind.
Okay,
And I
well,
think
let's
we need
bring
to
that
catch
second
up.
person up to that pay of the first
The
person.
court manager, county court?
Yes, and then allow the 4% raises and call it a day.
Second.
Are you okay with that, Mike?
So what we're saying is, the court manager gets a special raise of $5,119,
Yes.
in addition to a 4% raise. Just so I'm clear, office manager, no special raise,
That's right.
and 4%, $18.95.
Yes.
Yes.
And the rationale behind that is,
I think that his explanation of the court manager in Portage, although didn't take any ownership of it, was that this person has been woefully left behind, and he needs to bring her up to be parity with the other, people of like and kind level in Valpo. I think that was his explanation. So it made sense, actually.
and we're saying the office manager, due to the comp time and that sort of thing,
Yes.
we're less comfortable with it.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, we've got a motion, we've got a second.
Yeah.
Any further questions or comments?
Go ahead, Vicki.
Vicki, did you have a question? I'm sorry. Yes.
If we give the special raise and the 4% to the court manager, county court, she is still under
fine.
the other court
Yeah.
manager.
What are your questions?
Do you
You're
want
not here-
us to bring her up?
No, you're not here to
That's really
advocate
what
for the
was-
prosecutor. That's what
Okay.
that's what he asked for.
Okay, so it doesn't, it's
And
like my office.
I think the
Still
point is what
doesn't
Dan
care.
said, he's done a poor job of fighting
These
for
people
the right people.
from the state.
All right, we've got a first, we've got a second. Vicki, roll call, please.
And they're different
Yes,
goals.
sorry.
And this is the roll call, just to be clear, we approve the special and 4% for the county court manager, but only the 4% for the
Yes,
office manager.
That is
That's
correct,
correct,
yes.
Okay, very good. Councilmember Witten.
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
Councilmember Conover.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Okay, 7-0.
All right, so the other thing that I know someone,
Is the assessors.
there you go.
Yes.
John, you might want to leave the room for this.
Okay, so we were discussing, Vicki, do you know what the stipends were? So we increased, wasn't there a difference between the Portage Township assessor and our assessor and their stipends?
We
The-
equalize them.
We
The
equalize
original
them.
request, there was a difference.
Currently.
They need,
I think no matter what we do, they need to be equalized.
actually,
There's concern.
We
why
equalize.
are we, yeah, but why were we giving the stipend? Why were we increasing it? They've already got that, you know, the 1,000, the 2,000, and that.
Can I see what they were?
Yeah, what part of our book is this?
They want to look at the Portage stipends.
Well,
First of all, you gotta look at the schedule,
Assessor's office.
see what night we have.
it's just
Do you
a
excuse
lump sum.
No, I had to ask permission, I'm late
In the
I'll write him a note. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I'm returning to the stage at the
Oh,
Opera
my
House.
God, I
Am right
saw
by that?
that.
I heard it was.
What they were, what they were, I
You didn't see it, man. They were level one.
That was in my memo.
I heard it was a general show, and now.
Nah, you show up. So,
Shrek the
what
Arbor.
were the stipends?
I'm still
Stipends
waiting
right
to be a
now
flower.
are 1,000 if you're a level 2.
You'll always be a flower and immune, so.
And 1,000 if you're a level 3, meaning that if you're a level 3, you get 2,000. It's two
Is that the
separate-
same, is it currently the same in 2018? Is it currently the same for the county assessor and the township assessor?
Correct, yes.
So 1,000 for each, but it compounds, so if you, once you get to 3, you also get the 2 and the 3.
Two and one.
1,500 that we approved, and 2,000, so they get.
Well, it was 1,000 and 1,000.
Right, right.
Correct. And originally, the original request, which goes back in time here, like about 4 months ago.
Can we talk about the reassessment fund?
Yes.
Is it healthy? Where's it going? How much is in it?
Okay.
How much is in it? Is it, what direction are we heading in? Why are,
How many questions are you going to lay on her at one time?
Yeah.
Why are we here? Where are we going? Where have we been?
It's a property tax supported fund, so it's under the same levy limitations as the general fund, health fund, et cetera.
is it healthy? How much is in it? Is it healthy, Vicki?
My projections show that by including the new stipends in, the
Yes.
fund should
That's
pass
gonna be the
state
finish.
approval,
Should
but we will be cutting the operating balance quite a bit, which could set up problems down the road. And I would be remiss if I did not share that with you.
So we're heading in the wrong direction with that fund, and we're at, what, huh? Hello?
First I've heard that in my life. The fund is fine. This increase was requested because of additional.
John, come on up.
Yeah.
Explain it to us.
We asked for additional because the state has increased the educational requirements and required that everybody have these level 2s and level 3s to be able to handle property tax matters. And so, and we frankly haven't touched it for 6 or 7 years. So that's the reason why we asked for an increase.
You mean you haven't touched it? I mean, there's things coming out of it.
Yes, yes.
So what are you saying?
You mean touch the compensation?
We haven't touched the compensation, correct, I'm sorry, yes.
But
Why do you
those are the
think it's heading in the wrong direction? I guess where this pops up is that for
Heading in the wrong direction.
the assessment fund, the reassessment fund, that you're getting these
That's
out
what I said.
of.
That's the first I've heard that.
So I guess I'm asking this question because for the Portage Township
Yeah, but in
assessor,
her defense, there'd be no reason to tell you that
Yeah,
8 years ago.
No. John, when they approved all the different raises the other night, then we had to crunch all the numbers.
Okay,
And that's when we started looking at the health of the various funds.
okay.
And like I said, even if you have this in next year's reassessment budget, I believe it will probably pass state muster. It's within the levy limitations. But the fact that we're cutting into the operating balance instead of keeping it level, we could be setting up a problem for down the road. So then at that point, you'll have to decide where you're going to, if you're going to cut something else in the budget, or if you're going to fund the stipends from another part.
Can you explain
Another
where this
fund.
fund comes from, John? How this money?
It's based on the tax rate, it's separate from the general fund, it varies from year to year.
Does it increase from year
year to
It
year.
can increase too if we ask for an increase, which I think we did last year.
Well, please ask for one. Every year, every year.
Well,
It's
no,
not the-
it's limited to the state growth quotient, so you're
Right.
limited to the same levy increase as, say, the general fund.
Correct.
But the miscellaneous revenue that comes into this fund is very minor compared to, like, say, the general fund. So it's a very narrowly focused fund, the reassessment fund.
But we evaluated the fund, we looked at it, we looked at adding these increases, we felt very comfortable with this. I've never had to come to you guys in 8 years now and say, whoops, sorry, I made a mistake. And that's with doing a lot of cutting in my budget, probably more than any other department represented here today. And so,
John, I don't think that this isn't an indictment on your performance.
I understand, I'm not
It's a
asking.
numbers game. We're asking her, I think Jeremy asked her the sustainability of it long-term.
Sure, okay.
And
We know you've,
Okay.
and it's really coming from what I saw as 3 different raises from the Portage Township assessor. A special raise,
Yeah,
a
that-
4% raise, and an increase in the
Right.
stipend here.
And I don't want to do anything to disparage what she's done. I'm actually quite surprised she got as far along with it that she did. I told her at the beginning this is never going to fly, but it did, so.
Well, I don't know, here we are.
Well, yeah.
Not yet.
Now, my staff members are pointing, the assessor's employees are from the county are like, well, wait a minute, you know what? So it's just how it goes in this building from year to year. And I would come back next year and try to mimic in some ways. I know that Mr. Jessen asked me about equality in some ways at some point, and why aren't we not on the same playing field? And we talked about historical data to suggest that the county assessor employees here take on more responsibilities than township assessors. And that's just the fact of the matter and how it's always been. And so, equalizing may not be a bad idea, but it's not something that's been done, and there's evidence to suggest why it shouldn't be equalized.
Well, do you have just an idea, John, of the numbers of additional work that the county employees do versus the township?
Just in general volume, we have 3/4 of the county versus 1/4 of the county in rough numbers. So we have a lot more counter volume. We have PETA BOA board that requires 2 of my staff members, basically full-time, 1 for exemptions, which we've had a lot of fun with here lately, and personal property at a higher volume. Just about everything that we touch is at a higher volume. Phone calls, people coming in to file appeals at the counter. That's just how it goes. I mean, if you looked at her appeal volume versus mine, it's astronomical. The difference.
Maybe I'm pulling you into this.
Okay.
Because of, just see, they're getting 3 raises. They're
Correct.
Special raises, 4%, and a stipend. So I guess you're being drugged into this conversation because I don't know
But that's what they're getting.
how to correct this.
I got it.
Because right now, that would move, I don't even know.
What if we just left the levels the same as they were this year? Would that bring things more into line? Would that be a solution, a workable solution, if we didn't?
Then that's hurting his
Well,
office.
yeah, that would be a morale issue for my office, as well as just a fairness thing. It wouldn't, like I said.
Well, you'll still get the 4%, in my opinion. It just wouldn't be, we wouldn't increase any of the levels for either of your offices.
Right.
That's just a thought, just a
But then the
suggestion.
Portage is getting a boost in their, outside of those levels.
They're getting special raises.
I think well, we don't want to do that, but I was thinking maybe take away the stipend increase at the Portage level, but then we're not getting any closer to what Mr. Jessen would like to see.
it's a toughie.
It's a toughie.
Anyone got any thoughts, suggestions, motions?
I mean, because it is coming out of reassessment, and I feel that it's a healthy move, I don't see why there's a problem here. And what I told our employees here is if the Portage assessor is successful at this, then we'll just come back next year and use the same data she did to back up her claims. And
So we approve this, you're coming back.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, a raise.
Yeah.
Keep on trucking.
But listen, all fairness, you have this fund, and you're, rightfully so, you're able to use it. However, we try to keep parity with different departments. We tried that, and it doesn't work very well. But we still try. And by giving these raises, your department is going to be steps ahead of others.
He's asking for less of an increase than.
Yeah, he's just looking at the 4% in level 2 and 3 increase.
What you have to understand is our employees have to go through more stringent training than they've ever been required to do before to get a level 2, and then to get a level 3, you have to take
Do you
even
mean
more.
that, wait a minute, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you mean that the state could take away their level?
Yeah, if you don't keep up with your continuing education, correct, you would lose your levels.
But, okay,
These are special certificates outside of what everybody else is doing
has
here,
anybody ever lost their level, whatever they're at?
only if they don't take their,
No, has
normally
your
they leave.
department ever lost anybody?
Not that I'm aware of, only if they
Okay.
leave the employment and then they no longer need it.
You know, I mean, I guess, Vicki, you made a comment, response to Jeremy's question, which intrigued me. You said that you don't think, I mean, this would pass muster next year, but long-term, it would be problematic.
It could be. Yes. I mean, when, the fund in 18 ended with less of a balance than the prior 2 years, and we're cutting into the operating balance. You may want to look at funding the levels out of the general fund.
We've always funded those reinvestment, it's never been an issue, really.
So you see what you're saying, I mean, the balance is going down, it's trending, it's obviously trending in the...
But there's always a balance, I mean, that's
It's the
what
same
we're...
concern that I presented to you over the health insurance fund. It's
Yeah.
not at a crisis mode, but I need you to understand that
It's trending in the...
we have to think ahead, and we have to look ahead. Not that it's a crisis, but it needs to be on your radar.
In future years, I can go in and ask for an additional amount of levy, if I'm saying that right. Correct?
So if
No,
you
you're
guys want to
limited
leave
to
it
the
as it
same
is, or
thing.
want to make a motion?
But, here, I'd like to make a comment. We're talking to the county assessor. Hasn't asked for any special raises. Am I right on that?
That's right.
Right.
4%, which is the county-wide increase. And you are saying, level 2, level 3, there's certainly merit in increasing those. And I think, Vicki, if I remember right, I think you kind of also agreed with that concept in terms of the additional training and education they need and all that sort of thing, that the level 2s and level 3s, that's a warranted sort of increase. Did I misinterpret that for you?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'm going to put that aside for a minute.
Conversation.
I'm going to put that aside for a minute.
But, no, I did speak to that it does take additional training to
Right.
get the level. I'm a level 2.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more to it than I think most of us probably understand or appreciate that aren't involved in that business. Now, we look at the county assessor's proposed increase, and if I'm reading this right, it's showing 5.6% increase, 4.9% increase, which seems, in line or reasonable. And what we talked about before was, as we talked about the parity, saying, hey, the Portage Township assessor and the chief deputy ought to be more similar to Valpo, and we could argue that back and forth. They're asking for a significant special raise, and they're also going to get the 4%, and they'd also get that level 2 and level 3 increase. So those increases are more like 11.6% and 9.9%. So would it be right to say, let's leave these special raises, John's not asking for any, Portage Township currently is, but leave those out for now. To me, I think there should be more discussion about how can we have that parity, and what makes sense for the township versus the county in terms of what those pay levels should be. And, my thought is, or my initial thought would be, it should be parity, the same, without taking into consideration all the different nuances between the two different entities. So maybe take those special raises out of Portage Township and have the county assessor and township assessor get together and talk about those differences. And if there's a need for some sort of special raise at that point, for your office, their office, whatever, then we can address it at that time.
Could we also enter into the level 2 and level 3 discussion with the caveat that if it does affect the budget 3 years from the road, we have to talk about giving them back, or,
That's hard to...
You want to talk about them
Take
around...
back.
Well, if we know it now, then
Yeah,
we can
they'll be
expect
okay with it in
it.
3 years.
Now when you get a raise,
If the money's not
you
in the
get a
budget,
reverse
pay it,
raise.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Jesson, though.
But John, rather than and I understand what you're trying to do, reward the various levels, getting a 4% across the board raise. That's healthy.
Good
Leave
raise.
those alone.
Good rate.
I'm not saying that, when we came in with the level 2 and level 3 requests, we had no idea at that time that there would be a 4% increase.
So is that an idea, leave those the way they
Well, I don't
are,
wanna
and
do
then
that,
the
but
4% raise?
That's fair, but I would still like to keep the 2 and 3 in place for the reasons I've already stated. But, and, you know, it's ultimately the board's decision, not mine, so we're just requesting it. And I've tried to make a case, and I've sent you guys a separate email to explain it further.
Yes, you will.
And it is what it is, you guys, it's your call, and, you know, appreciate what you guys do.
So we will
I make a
be
motion
taking
for
out-
4% raises,
Okay.
not the special raises with the
Portage Township.
Portage Township assessor, the 4% raises, and leave the reassessment fund alone with the various levels.
So leave them as they currently are, or what we
Leave them
approved
as
the other
they
day?
currently are.
Second that motion.
Wait a minute.
Yes, currently, as you tentatively approved 2 weeks ago, or
Yeah.
2018
You gotta
level.
clarify that.
2018, because of your recommendation that we're concerned about the fund, and both departments are pulling in
So
on
all
that
he's
fund.
really getting is a 4% raise then.
And so is the other department.
So is that-
And he was not anticipating the employees would be getting a 4% raise when he put in for the increase in the...
And the level 2 and level 3 remain at, they're at 1,000 currently?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Is that right, Vicki?
Each one, yes.
So if I could be clear on this, Karen, you're suggesting, or you're thinking maybe 4%, no special raises for Portage Township assessor, take those out. Am I right so far?
Mhm.
And with respect to level 2, level 3, just keep them at current year's level.
Because the fund needs to be sustainable, just like our insurance fund does.
Right.
I mean, I disagree, Tom, I'm just trying to clarify.
Okay, we've got a motion, we have a
Second.
second. Is there any more questions or comments?
The only caveat, and I'll just restate,
We've taken
to have you work with the Portage Township assessor and further review this whole topic of level 2, level 3 distinctions, and also talk about parity, whatever that might look like between the two offices.
I mean, if I could, Mr. Jessen, just throwing that in there, the data that Ms. Neary has just uncovered puts the Porter County assessor's employees at a very lower pay scale than other assessing officials right next to, you know, on all sides. And so to come back to you guys with that type of a plan is going to be kind of groundbreaking because, you know, based on that kind of information. So I'm not sure if that's what, I mean, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but...
Well, my point is, it appears as if something's not quite right with the wages.
Yeah.
And one department's asking for significant raises to try to bring parity, and your request is more reasonable.
Yes.
But somewhere in there, I would like to think that the two can agree with some sort of proposal to bring to us, and then we can talk about it, and depending on how groundbreaking it is or how we feel about it, then we can make the determination at that time.
Well, I think your thought is, John, that our county in particular is underpaid versus the other counties in the same.
We'll just throw it out there, probably so.
Lake County.
Well, we could probably say that for
Yeah, for
most
everything.
departments, that would be...
Can we,
So I think we gotta move forward.
Call the question. Okay, we've got a first, we've got a second. All those, let's do roll call, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
No.
No.
Wait.
Councilmember Conover.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
And Councilmember Witten.
No.
No. Okay, so we have 5-2.
Suppose the beginning of my conversation wasn't leading down that path, so, but...
All right.
Maybe-
So are there-
That's
Okay, all right.
exactly right.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to cover with regards to the salary, with everything else?
Do we have all of our numbers for file now?
No.
How long?
We have to rework the assessors here.
You need a few
How much
minutes?
time do you
Yes,
have? break?
please.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break, we'll reconvene in 5 minutes.
Chairman.
And I'm
We done?
No, they
Take
share.
care. Party's over.
No, they're.
Turn out the light.
Oh, heck, I was going.
Way to go.
I know, that's not where I was headed, but.
I think we did, I think we did.
If we don't know what we're doing, then let's sit tight and talk about it later.
Trying to, yeah, trying to.
Something fast.
Two can't get together.
You know, like right now.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you're right. Yeah, sorry.
You can't see that. That's why we jumped out there. We were sort of struck at three points. There's
Yeah, or who's asking the mood.
Right.
Especially
As we get through
Spreading
Yeah,
out.
it's caught in you know, why did they always come late? I'm no grandma, and
That's what I called Dan. Next time it makes a snide remark.
Grandma?
Oh, yeah, we do, because of salary.
That's it.
Or does that affect?
We want to go home.
Because this is.
I'm afraid we've had enough time.
General fund.
I'm not going to, let's not worry about that because
I mean, I guess.
if we have a push.
We could always, it's not like we haven't addressed
Okay.
raises in the middle of the year, you know, well, I'm not, I don't want to start out, yeah, hey, you do that. Chase, we're all on
Do a little house cleaning.
for the most part, yeah.
But anyway, you just said it. Now, go out for level 2. Okay. And this is out of the 11.
Hi, Jeff. Pleasure. Good to meet you. Did that on the road.
Yeah.
Hey, how are ya? Good to see ya.
Okay, okay.
I am, so this is good. I got one more to do.
There you go. That guy's a Medicare age.
I'll tell ya.
No, I have to stay over there for, like, get my Medicare. Oh, my God. It's horrible. You know people. You know Kyle, the one here? Everybody there.
Now that we
Oh, bad.
we were partners in crime.
To make it better. Now, I was right at the meeting, I was just meeting right
Good, good. Great.
Oh, we're back in the county.
If I was to start now, 4 years ago, well, I tried back then, just had guys over
We ready?
I think so.
Oh, my goodness.
And I think we beat.
Oh, what I don't either.
That's fine, I've got so many different copies of all this stuff.
Trying to sort it out.
Oh, I know.
Trying to stick to one copy.
Actually, I don't need this either. Yeah. All of these, I hate to throw away. I'll just take them back to the office.
Joy will clean those up. Take the paper clip and the little thingy.
Right.
I've been taking all these notes, and I said, what am I doing this for? I didn't even, well, I didn't even need them.
Oh, I think it's done.
Well, what can we do? Is it in?
I don't think there's any.
Send it to me.
I think.
How many students
I think there's probably, I think they, what did they say? 50 to 70 left
Oh,
right
thank you.
now.
And what, at its peak, was it 100?
Oh, it was, gosh, it was like 300, I think, at some
Oh.
point. What had happened was school in the last 5 or 6 years just started, maybe 10 years, letting in too many people. Maybe, I shouldn't say too many people. They were letting in people.
Special raises. How did those special raises,
And the, when.
how did that affect? That only affected the Portage. Oh, I didn't know.
Just got a little too lax with admission standards in the last maybe 5 to 10 years. And so it just.
The passing the bar was kind of an issue on
Going
that.
down,
Yeah.
and the ABA, which accredits the law school, said, guys, this is not sustainable. So then they got censured, and then their enrollment went way down, and then the undergrad kind of just, I think the undergrad was because it's no longer a cash cow, it became so.
No, that's why in nursing, it really, but very fast. You don't have high, C+.
Oh, they made it was a huge statement.
You did not get in.
It was, because if they
You don't even get in.
had done that, it would have been, I mean, it would just would have been an issue. I mean, they might not have been as profitable for, a certain number of years, but I think it would have, the law school would have been sustainable. It just wasn't. When those bar rates started going down. These people. It was a problem, and the ABA, when the ABA censured them, that was just like, because I don't think this issue, and then when we were starting out in Tennessee, they wanted, school was all in favor of mine, from what I understand. I only know this because I got a buddy at the church who works at the law school, they talk right here, but it was the state of Tennessee, the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, I think that ultimately wasn't the law.
But it's not going to be my method.
Purchase, wanted to, and that happened, I think that's probably happened with the undergrad, as they just said, the school in general said, all right, we've tried, we're going to wash our hands of it. It's too bad, it's sad, actually.
Well, what's going to happen with the professors?
I think a lot of professors have already, not a lot, but there's certain professors that have already different jobs. Otherwise, I know severance agreement that they've entered into, a lot of them. So most of the staff is going to be okay.
What they'll do is move it to a different university.
Yeah. And there's probably going to be a certain percentage of professors that aren't going to be able to find a job. But there were a certain percentage of professors, this is not at other schools.
Is that how
shouldn't, you know what I mean? It's not being so.
I do. And what is so put people in, have them go through the program,
Did you see Amy's article in the newspaper?
What's that?
Amy LaValle's article in today's paper?
Oh, about it.
They don't have a degree.
I
They have a degree, but they don't have
When I was a unit manager,
If anybody had
Bill,
to
Yep.
they had three, I got 3 new grants. Good,
take out the snippet,
but they weren't bad.
Yep,
They flunked.
take them all out.
When you make flunk it the first time, you're out.
No. Well, I don't know, though. In this day and age.
Really?
Yeah.
And And they don't require them?
There's, it's not, they don't have to go back to school, I know that they might have to take another bar course or something, but, and there's, I don't know what the exact number is, I know it's at least another.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, in nursing, you gotta have some training.
Yeah.
Because you're mixed.
Oh, I know. Well, and they're also, you're the doctors when they're
You're
not
being
there.
and a patient advocate.
Yeah.
Let me figure a lot.
Things that were just voted on, right, that $3,000 difference, so.
We did.
And now, that's good.
But now, if we would have passed this with Portage Township, it's all of us, would have been making more than Dickey.
Yeah, right.
It's just doesn't.
Right.
Those extra ones?
Yep.
Yeah. And I have no, I don't care who they are. I don't even look at them with their name.
I love looking at them.
Well,
It's literally, it's one word.
Andy,
Yeah.
for final reading, you want me to read all the funds, or just the motion will have to be that you're adopting the budget.
Jeremy, listen, because I need someone to make this motion.
Okay. Yeah, let's defer to Harold.
Harold?
No, I was just,
In some past final adoptions, we've read the entire list of all funds. But I remember that last year, it was just let's approve it based on the decisions that we made. I would feel comfortable getting it in the record that at least the funds that we know have changed dramatically in the last, because of all the
do you want to read that, or do you want to?
Yeah, that's what we're working on.
Okay.
Because what we have to do now is we have to put all these numbers together.
And are we gonna do final adoption of salary today? Can we do it today, or we have to wait?
Well, the document is not ready because
That's what you're
the
saying?
assessor disagree with us. We didn't know that's what you guys were gonna do.
The deadline to do the ordinance is not until, I think.
It's December 30th.
Yeah, so we're okay.
Yes.
But with the deadline, we need to worry about this tonight, it's just the adoption of the budget is what you're saying, it's just that number that you don't want to read the entirety of it, you want to be able to read the significant changes.
The significant changes,
That's late, we're good?
Because
Let's do it, yeah.
getting rid of some of these special raises, it affected the general fund. By adding the 4% affected the general fund.
But we're still under the number now, aren't we?
You said we were only 3,500.
Yeah, we're 3,000.
Okay, it's time to get started, what do you think? You ready? You don't have to go to bed yet. When you get down here, then you can do what you want. Oh, the movie room?
We're right there. We're right there.
This is like a good school project, it's like it's like a field trip, kind of.
It should be, from what you told us.
All right, let's reopen the meeting, and then we're.
Where'd you go?
Well, we got public comment.
Oh, the Zoom, the sound with Hammond? You see the space and stars and all that good stuff, and the astronaut stuff? Yep. Have you ever been there?
Okay, let's call this meeting back to
That's a
order.
problem.
We don't have.
You'll
Oh,
like
I'm
that.
sorry. Can we wait a minute? We're waiting one more minute for Mr. Witten to return.
Mr. Witt.
Councilman Witten?
Somebody fall down and run out and get the
I was asked, by the way, if there'll be an opportunity for the public to speak. We'll have that at the end of the meeting. We'll allow Vicki to go over the final reading here, and then we'll chat.
I'd like to really screw Vicki up here for a second.
Okay, very good.
Oh, goodness.
All right, that wasn't the direction I was really headed for. You know, with the township assessor and the county assessor,
Right.
I looked at,
What's they doing?
I don't know, they do similar things. I mean, he's saying that they have a few more responsibilities at the county, but to me, I don't know how much more. They do the same thing.
Yeah.
We started.
So,
Jeremy's talking about the assessor now.
and right now, there's a $6,000 difference in the county assessor to the township assessor.
It actually grows with the 4% increase.
Yes, and it will grow with the 4% increase, that difference. So, and the chief deputy, the difference is $6,000. So basically, right now, there's a $6,000 difference between the township assessor, the county assessor, and their chief deputies, which 4% will make that grow. And I see where she was trying to go to try to get that more in line. I guess I was looking at it more in line with what the township assessor makes, what the county assessor makes versus the auditor versus the recorder versus the treasurer, trying to, in my mind, keep those more in line, too, of what I feel anyways,
Right.
the responsibilities are. So when we cut out the raises, the $3,400 raise for the township assessor and the $2,100 raise for the chief deputy, we've kind of, like Jeff said, we're going to grow that.
The gap.
Yeah, the gap.
You know,
Could we maybe reduce those amounts by, I don't know, $400 or $500 each in the raise and just still continue on with the process? I mean,
I'd like to do something like that, but I don't want to take away from what Mike said. I do think the two have to get in a room together, because I think they do a lot of the same thing.
and I think, I mean, at a minimum, what we're doing is we're saying that both departments are getting a 4% raise, at a minimum. That's what they're getting,
Yeah.
right? And we're also saying that, or at least I would be open to, them getting together, presenting the package to us, the information to us, so that we better understand. We're not prepared tonight to make any sort of determination on that, from my estimation, because we don't know enough about it. And I think we should hear from both of them and talk about it at that time. And so I'm not suggesting we go through this year and then wait till the end of the year when we always talk about these special raises. If there's a reason, a specific reason for a special raise, then we should talk about a special raise.
And are you guys wanting to ask them to get together and meet before the next meeting, before the final adoption of the...
Well, that's their choice. They certainly have incentive to do it, right?
Yeah, but we need to know, if we're going to make adjustments that are going to hit the general fund, I want to know tonight.
yeah, we should know.
Vicki has to know tonight to
I
put
think
that
we-
in on the first.
I think we,
Jeremy, would you be happy if we just reduce those special raise amounts by $500 individually? I mean, at least it gets them closer to parity.
Yeah, I hate to just take away the, $3,400 for somebody, 28, we're increasing that. So, yeah, I don't, what do you suggest, $500 off the 34 and the 2,100?
Or make them easy for you, whatever makes it easy.
Just an arbitrary number.
I'm thinking that the whole...
It just rolled off the tongue, felt good.
In a sense,
I think
for the moment.
The thought of that, Mike, is that if we pull it away, it looks like we haven't done anything to appreciate the fact that they are doing basically the same job. If we give them something as a general...
should we ask...
And I'm just saying, I don't know it well enough to say whether they are or they aren't, or what they should or shouldn't
Should we find
get.
out what they make?
She cut,
It's on there.
Alta, Portage Township cut $11,000 out of other items in
Right.
her budget
Right.
to be able to do this.
To do
I
those
just
increases.
remembered that.
Yes, she did. Yep.
I assume your
maybe
numbers
we-
for us, Vicki, show that cut?
That was...
All the
That
things
was the
that
budget
she cut?
that
was
she
the budget
turned
she
in.
turned in.
Yes.
Right.
That's
So
that's what we did on
we
second read.
did.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Is there a motion on the
Did
table?
Well, I just don't like the
someone
sounds of it at
cutting
all.
the
It just seems like a real...
We did not.
That's fat money in the plan.
I make a motion, and do what you guys want with it, that we cut the $500, the Portage Township assessor, $500 off the 3409, so whatever that math is real fast, and $500 off the 2184.
So 2909 and 1784.
Sure. Yep, that's minus 5 and 5. That way we're not increasing the difference in people who are doing the same thing.
1684, 1684.
Assessor versus assessor, if we deny these special raises, but
And we already denied the increase to the levels, right?
Right,
Yes.
right.
So that's...
2909 and
Okay, that
1684.
So we have a motion, do we have a
Now,
second?
there's
what is the motion?
other special raises that she was asking. In my memo, I only included the two top ones, just because,
Because,
This is-
Jeremy made a
I
motion
know.
to do $500 less on each of their...
I'll second Jeremy's motion.
So we've got a first, we've got a second, and that would take the Portage Township's assessor special raise to $2,909, the chief deputy special raise to $1,784. $1,684, thank you. So that's the motion on the table. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, hearing, I'm sorry, Jeremy, did you have something to make that?
No, and we did take down the,
Right,
The levels will
Yeah,
remain the
okay.
same from the prior
I got
2 minutes.
and they still get the 4% increase.
yes, all right.
And they would get the 4% increase first, and then the special raise.
Yes.
Ms. Vicki, or was there anything else, guys? I'm sorry. Ms. Vicki, roll call, please.
That's just our names, Vicki. You want to fire that off? You don't have to do any numbers on that one.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
Councilmember Conover.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
No.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Witten.
I'm just curious, do you see something in there what was the no?
More explanation, justification for the raise and as it relates or compares to the county assessor.
Yes.
Okay, and Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Okay, so we're 6-1 that.
Not that I don't disagree with you, I just,
No, I
You
agree
got a
with you
good point.
completely.
better just to shoot from the hip, man, and hope it works out.
All right,
Wait,
so...
this thing on?
So next...
Clarify the other
Got it?
special raises.
Here we go again.
Down 500. There were other
Here we go
steps
again.
getting special.
Right.
You just cut the special rate down by 500.
I'm sorry, I had to...
All right, so we have completed the salary ordinance. We'll have the final adoption for the salary ordinance in our November meeting. Next up, we have final reading, Ms. Vicki.
We have to, give us a second, we're adding the amount for what you just heard to the total.
It should have
Now,
helped us.
is there anybody else
We already approved
that is
it.
thinking
Yeah.
about something? We should come.
I think that I've got all my ideas out there, opinions. Unless you had something, Ms. Shaw? But
Just when I think we're...
like, as soon as Vicki starts reading,
Didn't you want to take that percentage down to 3.5%?
Yeah.
Is that a month?
Vicki would shoot. I do not,
Can I gavel that?
I do not think it will take away...
So is she calculating, what are we doing here?
I know.
Did somebody want to talk? Is it?
Vicki's about to do final
I
reading.
would like to talk.
Dan has practice.
We have been struggling with this as a county council. And if somewhere down the road, next year into the following year, it's not an inexpensive proposition to have a professional company come in here who knows
Time study.
salaries across the state, across the county, and do some sincere evaluations. You're going to find some of your employees are overpaid, you're going to find some of them are underpaid. And that might be something to think about going forward.
What if they come in and say Scott's overpaid?
They usually don't touch it.
Everybody's underpaid.
But what do you do, like, assume that there'll be some overpaid, there'll be a lot underpaid? Everybody's gonna be underpaid. I'm pretty sure
You might
there's...
have to do that over
You
a
don't know
two-year
if
budget.
someone's paid, do you?
No. just-
So will you be coming back to help with that?
I'm not suggesting
That's why she's throwing it out there.
I'm just kidding, Scott.
This sucks you right back in, Karen, that's what government does.
You're gonna get Dan kicked out of the plane, I'll never get in your
That's what
line.
I'm hoping for.
No, you will find some that are overpaid by the schedule, but they know what everybody's salary is through the county, through the state, in comparable positions. And some might be a little overpaid, some might be underpaid. And then you have to look at that, and maybe over the course of 2 years, you can have some parity, some true parity, when we stumble through this. And we do go by what a department head has to say. But then you talk to another department head, well, they don't do what these people in my office do. All that is gone. It's gone. And it's fair. And it's a suggestion.
That impersonation seemed a little acrimonious to me, Karen. We like to get along here in government.
We never,
So we're going to miss you dearly, Karen, and I
we
think
never
you
criticize
you
it.
really need to consider coming back and, just for
And
no other,
what?
for nothing else.
We got an open appointment.
She'll be
There
running,
you go.
she'll be running for council at large. Don't you let her kid you.
Vicki, are you guys ready?
You're gonna miss
All right.
us, Karen.
Go ahead and get started, please.
I'm going to miss you, and you're going to miss me. too.
Oh, I missed you already.
You want the whole list, right?
Yep,
Okay.
let's rock and roll.
what?
General fund, $40,656,690.
Say that again, please.
$40,656,690.
That was only what we were trying to do, right? Nice.
We're under $385?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
We're not moving anything around.
Thanks for cutting that 500.
Yeah, see, I knew what I was doing, Mike.
All right, well, let's get to this final reading. Let the public
Okay,
speak
so
and get home.
I'm to read the other ones, right?
Whatever, yes.
Okay. Okay, non-reverting, 189, 187, reassessment, 537.
Scott, you want that 385?
Okay. Lit, $5,739,95.
Sorry, Vicki.
95 cents, $95.
You have to approve this. This is final reading. Listen.
Vote no.
I've already got the numbers in my head.
Police pension, $220,000, animal shelter, $90,000, convention and visitors bureau, $1,965,876. Highway, $6,533,327. Local roads and streets, $1,860,000. Cumulative bridge, $3,696,319. Health, $2,021,831. Civic Center, $517,511. Continuing education, $21,000. Emergency telephone system, $2,508,306. Jail lease rental, $2,948,000. Park operation, $226,584. Parking garage, $14,500. Plan commission, $774,413. CCD, $2,240,809. Special Airport General, $1,378,282. Special Airport Cumulative Building, $238,555. Special Solid Waste Management, $1,457,848. Special Fire Service General, $126,096. Special Cumulative Fire, $73,650. County Corrections, $124,000. Non-reverting Capital Fund, $46,000. County User Fee Prosecutor, $513,155. Health Maintenance, $94,710. Foundation Budget Fund, $4,634,263. LAPC, $18,000. Reporter Perpetuation, $211,211. Adult Probation Supplemental and Abuse, $136,250. GIS, $32,000. Prosecutor pretrial diversion, $100,001,956. Juvenile probation user fees, $102,379. Adult probation user fees, $390,530. Surveyor perpetuation, $146,976. Firearms, $85,000. Extradition, $5,000. Hazardous substance, $40,000. Vehicle inspection, $5,000. Accidents, $5,000. Domestic violence grant, $148,000. Cable TV franchise, $1,100,000. County 4D incentive, $14,126. Stop grant, $31,110. Memorial Opera House, $461,563. Public safety data tech, $263,200. Jury fee, $70,000. Adult probation pre-trial services, $56,877. Clerk 4D, $81,488. Prosecutor 4D incentive, $186,125. Photo duplicates, $11,000. Emergency medical, $256,000. Clerk perpetuation, $7,000. State criminal alien assist, $8,000. Health trust tobacco account, $69,410. Circuit Court, Family Court, $10,765. Stormwater, $3,658,615. Okay. Inmate processing, $113,000. Adult probation admin fees, $150,995. Juvenile probation admin fees, administrative fees, $20,554. Circuit Court D, $16,148. Hospital trailer liability, $50,000. $250,000, yes. Circuit Court ADR, $7,726. Hospital interest, $550,000. Juvenile detention codes, $52,083. Prosecutor check deferral, $5,000. Sheriff County user fees, $254,689. Sex and violent offender, $23,165. Hospital sale proceeds, $665,000. Drug task force, $129,384. Public defender supplemental, $104,000. Prosecutor 4D TCA, $7,300. Medical care for inmates, $23,100. Prosecutor state and local grant, $6,661. Edward Byrne Memorial, $185,000. Sheriff overweight vehicles, $27,670. Highway overweight vehicles, $50,000. Sheriff donations, $46,000. Sheriff adult community corrections, $235,500. Court community corrections, $56,572. Adult probation community corrections, $192,300. Zona donations, $50,000. Videotape fees, $10,000. Unsafe building fund, $130,000. Ditch fund, $1.4 million. Animal control fees, control, $63,700. Animal shelter fees, shelter, $93,600. Highway community crossings, $1 million. Court interpreter grant, $6,500. District 1 task force fund, $30,000. County revenue bond project fund, $24 million. And stormwater bond construction fund, $14,150,000. That concludes third and final reading.
All right, thank you, Vicki.
I'm sorry, Andy, I didn't hear, could you run through those again real quick, Vicki?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we need a motion, am I correct?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to approve third and final reading.
Okay, we've got a first, we've got a second. Any discussion or comments?
Yeah, Karen and I were just talking about,
That's why I was distracted.
Okay, so hearing no questions or comments, roll call, please, Ms. Vicki. And just so everyone's aware, you've got some forms to sign from Vicki, so please don't leave.
Don't you have someone wanting to talk?
We will, yeah, we want to get the final reading out of the way, yes,
Should
sir.
I make you sign them before I do the roll call?
no.
Just to make sure.
Just bring it on.
I know.
I don't know how I'm
Did you
voting.
find that last one?
Roll call, Vicki.
I'm trying to see who we were. Okay. Councilmember Conover.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Witten.
I'm going to vote yes.
Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
And Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
So 7-0.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to take a moment and open it up to public comment. If you wanted to speak, please come up front, identify yourself, and speak into the microphone.
Is the whole cast waiting for you guys?
Is Lori in it, too?
Well, it's not a big role, really. They could do it, yeah.
Hi there. Good evening.
Thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Just say your name and address.
Kevin Cornett, 452 Northview Drive, right here in Valparaiso. I have to tell you, I've sat back there and heard about these raises you guys are talking about. Last year, you gave a 3% raise. This year, you gave a 4% raise. I've been in the construction industry my entire life. We never got a raise like that. It's usually 2% or something like that. So when you talk about giving somebody a 4% raise plus an increase in their pay, that just doesn't sound responsible to me. That's a tremendous amount of money. I don't think you're getting 4% on that money that you have invested, are you?
Yes.
Are you? Well, thank God, because you guys are spending it like water.
And some of them we had to bring into parity. Some of them were just lower paid positions, and some of them took on new job duties. For example, our IT director.
Sure.
We did discuss a lot of those during the meeting, just so you know that we didn't just make them willy-nilly. We actually had a lot of thought.
Well, I understand parodying for training and everything like that as people improve their situation. I understand that. But, I mean, just an across-the-board 4% raise. Now, what's going to happen next year? Another raise? Are we doing 4%, 5% next year, too? I mean, somewhere along the line, this isn't going to add up.
you know.
So Kevin, I appreciate your comments, I truly do. And I think that from my perspective, you know, we got behind a little bit, we came through some rough patches, and yeah, we're getting some money out of our investments, albeit, you have to understand that a lot of that money is going back into our rainy day or holding funds. We're trying to build up a little bit. I don't anticipate big raises every year. No, I don't. But when I saw that, for example, the sheriff's department had fallen to one of the lower paying in the county, I thought we ought to do a couple of things a few years in a row. But your points are well taken. They are generous raises.
They are, they're very generous.
I hope this year got us to where we need to be, and we can...
Well, it's just something that kind of sticks out.
I understand. I appreciate it, Ray.
Another thing is about this lease of this building. You know, the tax on the lease.
4D.
Yeah, 4D.
I'm sorry, I forgot about it already.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the taxpayers were overcharged for decades on this thing. And I understand you're able to take back 3 years.
With a PETA for it, not us, just so you know, it's the...
Okay, so what I'm concerned about and what I'm not hearing is any prosecution of these people that have actually just stolen from the taxpayers. So
I mean, you could say that, but that's, yeah.
First, we'd have to establish that they'd overcharge us, which you could maybe say that, but we can't say that without an awful lot of investigative work.
Well, and
unfortunately, the guy that would be the one to determine that signed the lease.
Well, I understand that too, but also the federal government paid two-thirds of that. So, and I know nobody wants to say we need to contact the federal government and take a look at this, but somewhere along the line, somebody has to be held accountable for basically stealing from the taxpayers. And I'd like to see something along those lines happen. At least something has to happen. You just can't throw your hands up and say, you know, that's okay. You know, we just said, you know, that's fine, you've stolen from us, but that's
We
okay.
did not say that on this board, I'll tell you.
Oh, I know, but I mean, just in general, we're not seeing anything about that.
And we've all talked about those ideas, and we've all discussed where that was going. And the real issue is if you want to involve the federal government, do we owe them money? Because they paid two-thirds of the lease. Do we as a county have to then reimburse them? So there's a lot of aspects that when you look at this whole thing, and trying to find a like and kind building that's the amount of money that we were looking for. And so there's lots of factors, and I know you're familiar with that go into that structure in that lease. We definitely we're not protecting anybody in that lease because we obviously defunded a non-valid contract.
Right.
And thanks to this board and to some investigative work, that we found out that lease was in fact not valid. But the real issue is being responsible to our taxpayers moving forward is our initial process, and that's where we're focusing. And going into litigation to try and retrieve money, you know as well as all of us know that the cost of getting that money back would probably outweigh what we would eventually receive.
And I'm not even really that interested in the money. Like you say, it'd take a lot to get it. I'm looking more about prosecution from the people that actually stole from us. You know, that's what I'm after. I want to see somebody held responsible for overcharging us for decades.
No, we are the fiscal body of the county government, so that would not be something that we would handle, just so you, I assume you knew that, I just wanted to...
But I mean, you could probably get the ball rolling, I would think, somehow. I don't know.
Mr. Cornett, we haven't had, the commissioners haven't, when they've renewed these leases, done I guess the word is market analysis over existing business leases throughout Valparaiso. I know there's been some numbers thrown out in Portage when the county had to lease the health department to be in a separate facility, and it was Assessor Snyder who said, you know, the high end of a lease out there is $29 a square foot. That was not the case here. This was a gross lease. We don't enter into the leases, but maybe going forward, an important lesson was learned, and indeed, the commissioners might want to say, well, we want a market analysis of current lease space, and this was a gross lease.
Right, but they were purposely misleading the commissioners and this body, saying that they were leasing you this much space when they knew darn well they were not.
So that, to me, I'm not a lawyer, but that looks like fraud to me. You basically...
That's a different board, a different animal that we have no control over, Peterborough.
It was a different time, it was a different place.
I understand, but
Quite truthfully,
we're here right now.
I think that this board, really, we took action and asked, and we found out, and we've acted on it.
Right, well, you
Set the money
We've kept it on
aside.
the forefront for the past 6, 7, 8 months.
And I feel your pain and understand as a taxpayer, because all of us on this board
Yeah.
live in our communities and have had our money expended.
Unless they illegally sit on this board, need addresses.
But-
No,
I'm
wait a
still
minute.
legal.
There was a time Jeremy lived in 2 different districts.
But the real issue is...
That was the board.
The real issue is that it would be remiss of us and probably not responsible of us to try and pursue something like that with our current tax dollars. And it's not something that privately probably couldn't be investigated, but for us to say that something like that has occurred, we don't have the information. We wouldn't be probably privy to that information unless we requested it.
But we do have a prosecutor's office.
We do.
But again, he's the one that signed the lease, so maybe we have to get someone above him.
Maybe so, and I don't know where to go with that, I'm just talking to you folks. The last thing I want to talk about is our voting situation. I know this isn't the election board, but I don't know if you're all aware of what terrible time people are having with absentee ballots. I have people that have been waiting for weeks, and most of these are elderly people that can't get to the polls.
Do you know about tomorrow's meeting? They're having an open meeting.
I do.
A public meeting, and this would be a great thing to, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Please continue, I just want to make sure you knew about the meeting.
From what I understand, when they receive an absentee ballot, they have to get it out in the mail that day, under law. So I don't know what is falling down here, and they also have what they call a traveling board, where people will go and vote at home. However, they can't tell you within a 3-day span of when they will be there. They'll say, we'll be there either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So people are supposed to just hang there and wait until they can figure out, are they that understaffed, are they underfunded? What is the deal if they can't even get a ballot out in the mail?
So here's the deal. What we can speak to is that we all share your frustration. What we can also speak to is that, from our perspective, they're funded, because we have asked numerous times, what do you need, how much you need, do you have everything you need? And in every turn in the road, it's been, we have enough. Okay, we're not asking for anything more. So then, from the perspective of the election board, I know that myself and I know that Jeremy has reached out to various members of the election board from both parties and said, well, do we have this thing under control? Do we have a handle on it? What has happened? Again, if you need something, we will fund it.
You need extra help?
We will fund it, and that's all we can do.
And they told us they were good.
Well, it's not,
So please bring that to them tomorrow.
it's not good. I didn't know if everybody was aware of the wait time for these absentee ballots.
Some of that might be mail-related, I don't know, but it's not my job.
What time is the meeting tomorrow?
3 o'clock.
Dude, that's Halloween, man. That's the one night I get to visit with my
What time is the
great-great-great-grandfather.
I think it's
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock here in this room? And that'd be good for anybody that's interested.
I think that's the venue. We have, Dan is correct, I think Andy, I've talked to, we reached out to Dave Bangs, we've reached out to JJ, we're communicating, they're saying they're aware of some of the issues, so they're trying to work through them right now, but that would be the place that definitely, they are charged with elections, that would be the place to make certain that they are aware of everything that you're hearing.
Right.
Well, might be issues.
What we're hearing, we're bringing to them.
Okay, well, I just want to make you all
Yes.
aware that that's reality. I have neighbors in my district that haven't gotten their ballots. Yeah, and that's a problem. So now, we're going to have to get them to the poll somehow, because I think right now, if they did get a ballot within the next day or so, they have to be there by Tuesday at noon, something like that. There's a good chance their ballot won't count anyway. So we're out of time, and
That's a good point. Maybe at that meeting tomorrow, you need to ask, they maybe need to make a special exception for, maybe a 3-day wait on the mail, or...
I think there's some discussion about treating some ballots as provisional, but let's see what they
see what hey, as people have so eloquently said, one voter losing their vote is one too many.
Sure, absolutely. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Cornett, just
Yes.
one more thing, if you can come back on the 27th, when we'll be approving the salary ordinance, a public document, you'll see how grossly underpaid some of our people are, and you might better understand why we are trying to
Okay.
roll
And
some things out.
just from an optics, just looking at it, like I said, I've never seen one, let alone it's like a 22% raise. I mean, that's, the optics of it.
Well, again, that person was taking on a lot more, too.
And I've been in your background, I mean, I've worked construction my whole life, and we pay our plow truck drivers and our service guys $21 an hour. I mean.
And honestly, my profession, I mean, we're living hand to mouth.
Yeah.
Frankly.
I get it.
You're those lawyers. I get it.
You guys are good at making it, I know.
Did anyone else have anything for us?
Thanks.
Sir, please. Thank
No,
you.
I think, my understanding, the average salary in the county is like $38,000. I think that's the average. And you talk about people who are plowing our streets, paving our roads, are making $20, $22 an hour. I cannot sit here and say that county employees are overpaid whatsoever.
It's a good one. It's a good.
Yes, it's a good one. We're a good employer.
This has been all right. Oh, we have more, yes.
Yes.
I can't believe this. Can you please identify yourself, your address, please?
Dwayne Davison, 701 Elmhurst Avenue, Valparaiso. I really appreciate the ability to speak to you, and more importantly, I go to a lot of government meetings, and there rarely are there such pointed questions, split votes, all of that. I see that as a good thing. So I appreciate you guys hashing things out. I'm assuming you'll all go out for a beer afterwards. And
We used to until some of those split votes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So,
We actually never hang around together at all.
never, okay.
No, he's
Here and then that's it.
I apologize.
And
Go ahead.
and speaking of this young man, I'm impressed. I don't know if he's punished in this.
He's
Amazing, actually, so, I wanted to just very briefly recount what I mentioned this morning at the County Commissioners meeting. That's with regards to 15 North Franklin Street lease. I realize that body, you guys, no one in particular here operating today was intimately part of that. You inherited something. My main concern was, how do we react once we get that? So I was quite disappointed. I wouldn't be here today, wouldn't be have gone this morning had the so-called secret meeting between a commissioner and an attorney happen. With all due respect, Mr. Larson, this morning you mentioned, well, no laws were broken, but that's not the point, whether a law was broken. The appearance of impropriety is what I had a concern with. By all means, if the taxpayers funded a second opinion from an independent counsel, then probably the taxpayers, meaning just a public statement or a public meeting announcing this, was the first step. Perhaps you guys paying the bills for all of this ultimately might have been the first step, but I'm not sure. One of the two.
We agree on that.
Right. So to have had it happen the way it did, I lost faith in the process that took place, and it was disappointing. So, and Ms. Conover, and all due respect as well, you mentioned good faith when referring to it. I saw no good faith on behalf of the taxpayer, with regard to this lease over the years.
Well, there was no decisions made at that meeting, Dwayne.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sharing of information, and then it was shared around. And here's one gal here who had it in the newspaper immediately, the other reporter is now gone.
Right.
There was no decisions made. It was a sharing of information. Here, heads up, this is what it is, and it was not a decision-making.
But I will speak to that, because perception is truth, and that was my problem with it as well. They didn't come to the council first. We were the ones that kept it on the forefront for the last 8 months. They didn't come to us first, they went to the, so I would agree with you to be.
Well, and I see your point, that no decisions were made, and obviously that's why a second commissioner didn't go, because that would have been a public meeting. So actually, we're thinking ahead, which is a little bit part of the problem, too. They consciously thought, how can we get you're referring to the situation as vendor and all this. So let's say previous owner, present manager, all of those, let's just lump them into one camp, let's say. If I'm the attorney, I would have pleaded with any commissioner saying, you can't do that. Can you see how bad that's going to look? Just from the public perception.
Well, and maybe the attorney was there, and I'm second guessing this, to say, this is the only thing we can discuss with you if I see you.
Well, I think the other part of that is, we always jump to the dollar amount and misrepresenting the government, but there's always a human quotient in everything we do. And the human quotient is that although the lease was determined not valid, they really hold what we have in their hand. We would have been given 30 days had someone else owned that structure, and probably would have said, you found out this wasn't valid, get your ass out of here, excuse my language, but that would
here comes the next press release.
That would have been the way.
I demand an apology from you, and I want it for the taxpayers.
I'm going to show you mine in a second.
He said this clearly.
But the reality of that is in every decision, and we can argue this point till we're blue in the face, that there's going to be a negative and positive perspective from every decision. And I've been on that side where I'm looking at that going, wow, that brings into a lot of question as to why they did that. But I can assure you that I'm going to do that same thing every time based on, I don't want people that I care about in that structure thrown out on the street. And so my first thought is how do I protect the people that are in that position, and then how do I get to the point I want to get to? Because remember, you're not talking to people that signed that lease. You're talking to people that got handed that, overinflated football or whatever. They're the ones that are dealing with it. And so I think, was that probably the best decision that could have been made? No. And I wasn't agreeing that was the best decision that could have been made, but I do see that there's always a human quotient in there. And I think, I would hate to just throw that out the window and then just go up there and say, well, you know what, you guys got 30 days, get out. So I think we do owe that vendor an obligation to say, you know what, lease came back invalid. I mean, it's not valid.
I agree with you, Jeff, on almost all of it. I do think that if we're going to take the position that the lease is void, at some point we do need to let the vendor, or I hate that word, the property owner.
Lease
notice of that. I mean, I think we do have to tell them that. But what I'm going to say is that I can think of absolutely no valid reason, none, and I am a lawyer, no valid reason why Commissioner Good, before the opinion was even reduced to writing, took the time to meet with at least a representative, before he even got the opinion, to share that with him, when we had already talked about having an executive session to discuss it. I think it was a colossal misstep. But that's just my opinion. But I do agree with you that we do have some obligation to let the property owner know this lease isn't going to run to 2024. It is a void lease, and we are moving on.
And I think you and I are more familiar with the scenario on what happens in that office and where that information would be shared almost immediately. So I think the presentation I'm not sticking up for Mr. Good, but I think the presentation was that information was going to be leaked to the press before the actual leaseholder knew what was going on. And so in trying preemptive that, trying to say, look, we're going to try and fix this, please don't kick.
Hold on, Amy, this guy's trying to say people leak stuff to the press. Tell me that's not true.
Tell me you didn't have that ready for print. Tell me you didn't have that ready for print before we...
What's sad though, is she probably found out.
Can't believe this.
She did. She found out before we did. I guarantee it.
Because they had months to discuss.
I guarantee she
So,
knows. It's a whole other can of worms.
So your point's well made, I agree with your perception is terrible.
Thank you. And, to follow up, Mr. Larson, I appreciate what you're saying about the human quotient, and what I'm talking about has nothing to do with what you guys have to wrestle with and the commissioners have to wrestle with, which is the debacle, let's face it. Where's the department going to go? I mean, nobody's like living there and kicked out on the streets, but it's a problem. I agree, and I don't have the solution on that. But let's say that we owe the property owner an explanation on the independent counsel, and perhaps even before the press or the public. Then the way to do it when you've got checks and balances and you've got ethics on your side and you're doing the right thing, then the proper thing, in my view, would be to send a certified letter, email, something that's there that says that gets that info to them quickly, responsibly, but the way it came off was secret meeting, closed door, what are they talking about? And it kind of even doesn't matter what they talk about. Let's just say they only informed them lease is null and void. If it's only that still begs the question of
and I love
why
the
would
fact that you and I was in this. I remember Dan said you're kind of green when you came into this, and I said I love the fact that you believe that everyone's ethical in positions, because I think in those certain circumstances, I believe there's a thought process that you come into this office and go, I'm going to change the way public entities work. And then there's also a thought process that some things happen as people age into those positions that you don't quite understand. And so there's an ethics quotient, and I guess my question would be, okay, well then who leaked the information? Because really, that would be the direction I would want to know. Why was there information leaked to the press prior to the council knowing? And so, and the whole basis for any of that conversation would be, in a perfect world, we would have had that information, it would have been brought to the commissioners, would have been brought to us, we would have been able to release it, we would have been able to send that information forward. But in this imperfect world that's political.
Sure. And clearly, that's happened, water over the bridge, and then just the final point would be, I guess my plea to this body is to work with the county commissioners and whomever else to avoid this situation in the future. So that would be to check the leases that are out there, not to say any of them are wrong, but just to, now you've done due diligence, you've looked, no surprises like this one was. So to work in conjunction, there'll be a good press release.
Have you gotten those
for you
leases
guys.
yet, Mike, that you requested?
Yes.
Have you gone through them all?
I know, as I understand it, we don't have any long-term leases where we have any outstanding
That's something that
obligations.
you should know.
We did ask
Not to
that very question.
We did make the request.
Just so you know, we are reviewing all those now, every lease. And so,
So, and maybe not just leases, that seems to be where this one led, but if there's another way in which the county council and county commissioners can have, good, solid communication to avoid any improprieties, lease or otherwise, that's what I'm asking for.
I agree totally.
Yeah. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much. Okay, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Wait.
So move, we got a second?
No.
Oh.
I just want to say something real fast. This was the last budget session that I get to spend with Karen Conover, and it's been a true blessing, and thank you very much for your leadership. What? Hey, I'm saying something.
I'm sorry, I completely lost interest.
So, when she was making her way up here, I thought I would just thank Ms. Conover, Mrs. Conover.
Well, you're coming back, aren't you?
Yeah, but this is the end of the budget session.
Well, I left months before and came back, so.
You did. You said that. That's true.
At
large.
You're gonna be back next
I see it now. Can you announce yourself, your name and your address?
Yes, Donna Purdue, and I am...
Did you gather me?
He did.
Dan told me.
Dan did it, I think. 802 Washington Street, Valparaiso, and just to be straightforward, I am a candidate for county commissioner.
What?
Hoorah. I really appreciate what Mr. Davison had said, and this morning, a lot was really clarified, and I appreciate what Ms. Conover said about we don't know what was going on, but maybe we don't need to apply negative connotation to it. However, my concern is, you did say that they've got to come back with a plan, and that you'll vote on a plan. Perhaps they come back with one option, maybe they present an option A and a B. What if they came to you with an 18-month stay at the place they're at, so that, because my concern is the human element, and I don't think it's healthy to move them now and then move them again. The two moves is, I heard that earlier, and that kind of made me a little, having worked in offices and moved it a lot, that was really a horrific situation. But if they came to you with an 18-month settlement, whatever the heck they want to call it, an 18-month settlement, and then during that time, they're building out the jail building to make, because I understand now that it's not prepared. Would you be able to approve, or would you be willing to approve something like that? Will we be able, I'm trying to understand
No
where we
chance
see
I'm
that.
going to discuss that now. Zero chance, quite frankly.
Really?
That discussion is going to come later. I made my point very clear to the commissioners and what I expect.
Would you be willing to move two people?
No chance do I make that decision now.
Mrs. Perdue, are you
I gotta go to the restroom.
Mrs. Stafford's letter to the council?
I'm so sorry?
Do you have an extra copy?
Did you get the letter Mrs. Stafford sent us?
No.
She'll send it.
Mrs. Stafford sent us a letter as to her concerns about a temporary build-out and what the office requires, because it falls under a Homeland Security situation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
15 decks and file cabinets in a room and expect it to function. It's not that kind of an office. So if you
Well,
would
it's
like
the computers and everything else that's involved. I mean,
It's much more involved.
I spent 22 years in the Marine Corps, ma'am. I know about moving.
That letter means a lot.
Okay.
So we have a...
All right, thank you, guys.
To address that, Ms. Perdue, I
I'm
would...
so sorry.
To address that, personally, I would be open to any solution that would not require them to just pick up and leave. So
I'm any legal solution, personally, so.
Legal.
All right, we've got a motion, legal.
Thank you.
Motion on the floor, second. Do we have, no, we do have, okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Everyone have a good evening.